In today's episode, we catch you up on all the convention gaming that we've been doing over the last 2 weeks. Mike talks to you about all his convention gaming that he did at Escape WinterCon. Rob and I get to talk to you about our trip to St. Louis, where we got to meet Jamie Stegmaier for the Stonemaier Design Day.
Stonemaier.
Yay, so stick around for more Beans and Dice podcast.
You're listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
All right, so let's get into the segment where we talk about our gaming convention event recaps.
Okay.
Been a lot of conventions that are starting up. Feels like convention season is back. It feels good.
Yeah.
Right.
It's been a long
partially
time.
back.
Yeah, partially back. It's edging back, but it's actually came back in a pretty big way.
But also condensed, right?
Yeah, I was
Because
gonna
it
say,
was like
that's-
Dragon
yeah.
Con,
It's like
Gen Con,
it's like
Escape
a sprint
Winter
now,
Con,
not a marathon. Yeah, it's
Stonemaier Design Day.
back to back to back.
We've got, I think, 2 conventions going on this weekend in the Tampa Bay, Florida area, or I guess Central Florida area.
Yeah.
Right between Orlando and Tampa, right off the bat. So it's like, it does feel like it's back.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it has that feeling, definitely.
Which is
it's
good.
It's altered. It's different, but it's back. Yeah.
It's back in
Yeah.
a way.
Yeah.
And we...
Carlos is trying to convince you, right?
Yeah, exactly. He wants me to jump all on board. But
I feel I'm happy it's back.
Yeah,
like
it's good.
I've been missing this.
Yeah.
No, I'm happy. It's just, I mean, let's face it, the attendance isn't really where it would have been, you know,
Right.
but I'm happy that they're starting up again.
yeah,
Definitely.
everybody's paring back, but at least it's a convention. It's going again.
Yep. I do
Yeah.
think that Escape WinterCon had more ticket sales this year than it did its inaugural year, which was last February of 2020.
That's what somebody was saying. Yeah.
That's from what I understand. They sold
Did it
more
really?
tickets. Yeah.
It was definitely
Wow.
lighter attendance, though. I don't think it was anywhere near what it was last year as far as the game rooms.
Yeah, I don't think it was nearly as packed as when we went.
Yeah. Even
No, it
Saturday.
wasn't. I don't think people showed up as much, but the tickets were sold, and that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, definitely.
But before Escape WinterCon, Robert and I got invited to the Stonemaier Design Day.
Yep.
That occurred in early September. Was it the 9th? The weekend of the 9th?
10th, 11th, 12th, something like that. Or
It was just that Saturday, that
we went up for
Sunday,
the 4 days. Yeah.
which was, I think, the 12th was the actual Sunday that
Sunday.
it was on. But
Yeah.
we spent our time the weekend of heading up there. I headed out from Tampa. I think it was like Thursday night.
Thursday after school, Thursday afternoon, y'all left.
Yep, Thursday after school. We drove it. We
Yep.
made it a family event. My family's a big baseball family, so we wanted to see. The boys wanted to go see a St. Louis Cardinals game.
Yeah.
Because their catcher is Yadier Molina. He's one of the greatest Puerto Rican catchers out there, and my son is a huge fan, so we decided to make it a full family thing.
Yep.
So I invited Rob to join me in my van so we can all road.
Nope. Y'all enjoy that.
That's where he draws the line.
Yeah. Me and my wife decided to fly, and so we left Friday night, several hours after you left, and of course we got there late Friday. Actually, our flight being delayed by 3.5 hours didn't help either. We didn't fly out until almost midnight, but we got a nice little. The airline gave us a nice little kick on the side there, so we've got some tickets. Of our choosing to use in the next year, so that'll be nice. But
Yeah, it was also the opening day for the Buccaneers.
oh yeah,
We are
yeah.
from Tampa.
That's right. Yeah, and I was going to miss. So my team is really the Cowboys. That's the team I grew up loving. Although I do like Tampa now that I'm here. So it was Cowboys and Tampa that opening Thursday night. I was assuming I was going to miss almost the whole game for the flight, and I ended up being able to catch the entire first half and a good chunk of the second half from the airport. So that wasn't so bad.
Nice.
Yeah, the timing worked out a little bit. So
And I was able to put it on the dashboard on the
While you were
streaming
driving.
service.
That's safe. Don't
Well,
do this at home. Yeah.
My boys wanted to watch, so we
Yeah.
had it playing over the Bluetooth, so that helped keep the drive,
Lively,
fun. It was
yeah.
like 3 hours of something to do.
That's good.
I think I got into
Atlanta,
it was Marietta, so
Okay,
I
Marietta.
wanted to get just past Atlanta
just outside of Atlanta.
on that drive. That way, the morning I wouldn't have to deal with that Atlanta traffic. Which, if you've driven through Atlanta ever,
yeah.
you never
wanna
want to do
deal
that
with
again.
Yeah, for
ever,
sure.
ever,
Yeah.
ever, ever.
Yeah.
And then I think like 2 a.m. is when I got into the hotel. Stayed at Days Inn just to keep it quick and easy. Grabbed some continental breakfast on the way out. We got up around 7 a.m. and headed out around 8:30
Yep.
from the hotel to continue our trip through St. Louis. By this time, you were already
Yeah, we were there. We had most of Friday. Me and my wife just kind of sightseeing. We didn't have any vehicles, so we were hoofing it. We were walking around, but we did a lot of walking. I think at the end of the day, she checked her watch, and it was 9.8 miles that we walked. So I've never walked 10 miles in my life in a day. So that was a lot of walking. I almost didn't make it back. I had to stop 6 or 7 times on the way back just to sit down because that was rough.
Didn't she carry you like a toddler?
She did. She put me on her back. No.
Nice.
But, we did a lot of walking that day. But yeah, you rolled in that evening. I don't remember what time it was that y'all got in.
It's about 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah. And we met up. I can't remember what we did that first night. I know y'all mostly just kind of get settled in. That's right.
We ran out for dinner. Had a few beers.
Yep.
At the restaurant just outside the hotel. A beautiful, gorgeous area out there. Forest Park.
Oh yeah,
is the name of the area that we stayed in St. Louis.
That's nice.
I think Jamie says he lives about 10 minutes away from Pieces.
Yeah,
Jamie Stonemaier.
Yeah,
we were about 10 minutes away from Pieces.
Pieces Board Bacon Cafe.
It seemed to be like a very poppin', like hip area. So I would imagine if he did live there, probably be in that Forest Park area.
Probably, yeah, because that was about 10 minutes away from where Pieces was. So,
and it was popping.
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was nice in that area. That was that'd be a good area. I know there's supposedly some bad parts of St. Louis that you don't want to go to if you don't have to.
But... Yeah, there was a few bodies found underneath the arch.
The night we got there, they found a body in a car under the arch.
Shot up underneath the arch.
Yeah, that was like a little eye-opening. But
some areas you didn't want to be in, but I felt safe and comfortable.
Yeah.
Because we were outside of that area.
Yeah, Pieces was a nice, again, just another plug for them, Pieces Board Game Cafe in St. Louis. That was a nice establishment. It's a well-established cafe. They've got chefs there that they do a full menu. We did, tacos and quesadillas. And
I did a lot of cookies.
Oh, you did? Oh, there was a lot of cookies.
But this was Sunday. This was Sunday. Rob's jumping ahead. The food's got him thinking.
Oh, yeah. Just a plug for the cafe. But it's really well done. So and lots of games to play. But go ahead.
Yep, so that was Friday night. You know, it was just kind of getting into town. Saturday, we spent the daytime.
Yeah.
Family time.
Yeah.
You know, we took the kids to the zoo.
Yeah.
By kids, I mean Rob.
Yeah, I got to go to the zoo.
He got to ride the train.
Oh, yeah.
The little mini train.
No. Actually, we all rode the train.
See? I'm not lying.
Just me. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And I think after that, what did we do after that?
We checked out the Loop. We went over to the Loop and had lunch at where did we eat lunch? It was
Salt and Smoke.
Salt and Smoke barbecue place. Yeah,
they had the popovers, which are like this cheddar bacony egg bread.
Yeah, it was a thing. It was like a big puffy, kind of a hard outer shell, and then a pretty hollow on the inside. But yeah, that was good. Actually, Jamie mentioned that. He's like, "Did y'all try the popovers?" Jamie Stonemaier. So yeah, that's a thing. It was good.
And we had some drinks there. That whiskey / bourbon menu is insane.
Oh yeah, they had a whole wall of alcohol there, so it was good times. And
if you're someone that's interested in bourbon or whiskeys, and you're in the St. Louis or passing through St. Louis, you've got to stop at Salt and Smoke.
Yeah.
I have never seen a menu that large for different varieties of bourbon.
Yeah, it was a lot of good drink lists.
We had some of the bourbons. I had the Salt and Smoke, their official drink, which was like a margarita made out of bourbon. Yeah, it's like a bourbon margarita smoked. It was very good.
Yep, I had the old fashioned there, which was just a kind of a standard. So
very good old fashioned.
Yeah, good old fashioned. Yep.
And then we hit Fitz and got some milkshakes.
I got to hit some before we went that I had to try the root beer at Fitz, and so we stopped by the Fitz bottling spot there, and they had a restaurant, and we just went in for dessert in those giant root beer floats. So
yeah, it was weird because they looked at me funny when I said, "Hey, I'll take one root beer, 2 straws," and it's like me and Rob.
It would have been a good picture. Huh?
I'm kidding. That was Mike's joke. He's laughing at us, taking pictures together, drinking milkshakes.
Root beer.
Dude, you should have staged that one. I don't care, man.
Root beer floats.
I would have loved to have seen that.
Root beer floats, not milkshakes, but yep. But we, they've got a menu of floats that was probably 20 plus different kinds of floats there, and they've got all kinds of things. Yeah, it's all kinds of stuff on them. So it was good. We ordered, I think, 4 or 5 different ones between the 7 of us that was there.
Yes.
So 7 plus the baby. So yeah. But good times. That was fun.
Yep. And then this is when the gaming begins. Like at that point, Rob and I think we did the Arch.
We
did the Arch that same day.
Saturday. Yep.
Yeah, I guess that's a big deal too. We saw the Gateway to the West.
Got some pictures.
It was huge.
You and me under the Arch.
Insanely huge.
Yeah, it was.
But we finished that when we sent the family back to the hotel.
Yep.
Rob and I took the minivan and headed out to Miniature Market out in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Jealous, man. I'm so jealous of you guys.
I got a chance
you
to
didn't
check
have
out.
to spend $100 to get free shipping.
No, yeah. But then Carlos had actually ordered something. He said right before he left, the box hit the door from Miniature Market.
No, it's right here under the table. I'm kicking it.
Yeah, it's right
It's
under the
still
table.
under the table.
So that was the day we left. So he told him, he was like, I should have just done the pickup. I'd been here, I could have picked it up. So
I didn't even think about that.
yeah, but you picked up the new Descent over at Miniature Market. Got that on a
Well, because we walked in there and the store is, and this is just a storefront. I thought this was going to be the warehouse because the building's fairly big. But no, this is just a storefront.
Yeah.
And it was huge.
Yep.
It was a huge storefront. But it also had a ding and dent section that they don't offer online.
No, yep. He said only in the store. Yep.
There were like 4 different shelving areas of ding and dent. It was quite spread out.
Yeah.
And as soon as I walked in, the first section had Maglev Metro
Yeah.
with a big hole in the front. like,
Yeah, there's all-
like a forklift got
Something
at
had
it.
gone through it. Yeah. Yep. And you grabbed that and put
But
it
it
under
was
your arm.
Yep,
Yeah, real
I
quick.
scooped it up real quick.
Yeah.
It was 50% off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is because almost like Escape WinterCon or I'm sorry, Dice Tower Convention.
Yeah, cool
had the
stuff.
ding and dent session
Yep.
from Cool Stuff.
Yep.
So it kind of felt like that hunt again, like I'm hunting for the ding and dents. And
And I'll say the ding and dents were pretty well picked over. As we were going through, there was a lot of kind of B-level titles. There weren't a lot of big ones, but the Maglev was a eye-opener when we saw that one. And then I mentioned Descent. You picked up Descent for...
well, no, as soon as I grabbed Maglev and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm done. This is all I'm buying. I'm
Yeah.
walking out of here for like $40. I feel great.
Yeah.
And then Rob points, oh, look, it's
There's
Descent.
Descent over there.
You know, Legends of the Dark.
Yeah, they had one copy.
And I'm like, oh, somebody must have misplaced that.
Back of the box was kind of split. But
Yeah. It had it on there for 40% off.
40% off. $170 game, 40% off.
And I'm like, dang,
Nice.
Yeah.
that's a deal.
That's a pretty steep discount. Yeah.
So I looked at Rob. I said, listen, Rob, I can't buy both.
You take Maglev. We'll have that in the collection. Yeah.
If I get Legends,
Yeah.
will you take Maglev?
Oh yeah.
And he's like, yes.
Oh yeah. If you wouldn't have seen Maglev first, I would have grabbed it. So yeah.
Hey, it was a Puerto Rican man arrested in St. Louis.
Pretty much. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, that was a good find. We got to check out their gaming room. We didn't get to play because we were there just before they closed. But their gaming area there was pretty nice too. I'd say it was probably over a dozen tables. But
Oh, yeah.
every
Well
one
over.
of them had the toppers, the game toppers from Berkey, and they had different mats on every one of them. They had all like 12 or 15 different tables with different theme mats. So they had like a castle one, they had a pirate one. Every one of them was really nicely done. And
I know they hold like card CCG tournaments there all the time.
oh yeah,
so.
yeah. They had their schedule on the wall every night. They had several tournaments going on, or every day throughout the day. So
There was a couple guys back there setting up like a 40K match in the back on
Oh,
one
yeah.
of the tables.
yep. Mm.
But that's not what I really took pictures of. What I took pictures of was the coolest thing I've ever seen at a game store. And it's this wall, and it had this laminated section of paper. And on it was every restaurant nearby that delivered
Yeah.
and some of their popular stuff from that restaurant and the phone number.
Yeah.
So, like,
How does this always go back to food somehow?
Yeah,
I don't
he's-
understand
I
what's
mean,
going
look at
on
me,
here.
bro. We are called Beans and Dice.
Yeah.
you know?
So they had it there with the Uber phone number and the list, and you just call the Uber and tell them I want the 16, and they go to that restaurant, grab it, and bring it to you right there at Miniature Market. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's something that Rob and I were
Nice.
like, we got to tell folks about, like game shops about that idea, because
Yeah.
that's one of the toughest things is figuring out what to eat so you can keep gaming. And on it said, hey, we don't want you to leave to eat.
Yeah.
Here's options for you to stay and play.
Yep.
I mean,
that's
to me,
cool.
that's pretty cool.
And there was a plethora of restaurants on there. It wasn't just a couple.
We're talking like 6 or 7 laminated sheets with
Yeah.
a dozen or so.
restaurants on each one, or there was a lot of stuff on there that you could order in.
So they got a good setup there, and their wall of just new games was like a library.
Yeah.
I think the whole catalog it felt like the whole catalog was up there.
Yeah.
We just perused for over an hour.
Oh yeah, they
Just
had
perusing.
good prices. I mean, we were tempted on a lot of stuff, but me for flying, I said I just can't fly with all this stuff. And then Carlos had a pretty loaded up vehicle already anyway. So.
Yeah, with the new baby, 6 of
Yeah.
us in that van, there really wasn't much room.
Yeah.
So that was our Saturday night of gaming. We finished it off with our first game of Maglev Metro.
Back at the hotel.
So it's the first game we played in St. Louis in the hotel lobby,
Yeah.
which I will tell you that hotel lobby lighting,
Oh yeah, not so good.
not so good.
Yeah, not so good.
Especially with Maglev Metro, where the copper and the gold kind of have a similar tone to them.
And I'd heard that in the past, that's one of the knocks on the game is that can be difficult to differentiate between some of the colors that they chose, the palette. And so people have done different things by altering their pieces, by putting, drawing a little something on them or whatever. But we played through. We wanted to just get it to the table and learn it. So we pulled it out and read through the rule book in 5 minutes and started playing. We found out when we got a chance to play it the second time that we got several rules wrong. So we fixed those on the.
No need to qualify the game.
Yeah.
I mean, just
okay. But
it was a solid win for Carlos.
Yeah, he's claiming it as a win. So it's sure it was a win with some modified rules, a little house rule in there, I guess. But yeah, it was a good game. It's a solid game. And I said this. I don't know how deep we want to get into Maglev, but after playing it, I'd heard a lot about it. A lot of people had it on their top 10 list last year, best 10 games, top 10 of the year that they had played. And after we played it, I don't know if it would be in my top 10 last year. Probably would be. I haven't played all the games out there, but
is that how you felt at the hotel? Let's not go too deep into the next con because we get another shot at it in the next con.
Yeah,
I want to hear later. Did it change your mind?
Yeah, I'd say it was pretty similar actually both times, but there was nothing in the game. And just to my preview on it or my answer on it is there wasn't. There's nothing revolutionary, and then I mentioned that when we taught it again later, is that there's nothing in there that's going to blow your mind that you're going to say, ooh, I've never seen that anywhere else other than those really cool acrylic tiles with the different routes that you overlay, and that's really cool. Seeing those lines, your little metro lines lay out, and I was the blue player, and then we had a green player, a yellow, and I think a red, and seeing each of those lines be able to overlap and go to different places, that was really kind of neat. But
I've never played a game like this before. I'll tell you, Maglev Metro is a game about creating a system of magnetically levitated trains that are going to be moving around the board, picking up passengers and dropping them off at where they want to go. So as you take your actions, you start with 2 actions available to you on your turn. You're going to take 2 actions. Your actions will consist of things like laying more track. You're going to move your maglev down a section of track. You're going to build new stations. You're going to increase the efficiencies of your trains by increasing the capacity, increasing how many passengers it can pick up, how many passengers it can drop off. You're gonna and the way you do the increase into the engine is what I found interesting. Is in Maglev you're gonna pick up passengers, and when you drop them off at where they want to be, they go onto your tableau.
Yeah, your little player board.
On your player board, and this is where you begin to do the engine building because you're gonna take those passengers and put them in different slots. And many of these slots are color coded. They will only receive the passenger or robot that they're seeking on your board.
We didn't realize that so much in our first play, but
because the lighting was bad.
Yeah, more so in our second play.
So there's a section where you build the engine of your train, where you I guess what you automate. There you go.
Automate.
English is not my first language. Trademark.
Those robots that
dice.
you pick up and drop off. Yeah.
When we played
autonomous.
Autonomous.
Yeah.
Skynet. When you set up your Skynet on your board, there's a section for it, and in that amber lighting of the hotel lobby, what Mike was able to point out, which we'll talk more about later when we get to Escape WinterCon, those sections have different colors on them, silver, copper, and gold.
Yeah.
We just couldn't see that in our bad lighting.
The first one you placed on most of them was wild, and so the first one, it shows each of the colors, but then we noticed as you go down further to the right on each one of them, as you place more and more, it starts limiting the colors you can place. And
and the more you add to those sections, the more that action does.
Gets
so
better.
you're still doing 2 actions, right? But when you do the track action, you can lay now 2 track or 3 track or 4 track instead of just 1 track. So that's how you build that engine and
automate
your systems. But then you got also passengers. I think they call them passengers.
Passengers, yeah. There's robots and passengers. So but they're
supposed to be real people.
Real people.
And they want to go to office spaces. They want to go to retail spaces. They want to go to the embassies.
It wasn't one of my lab or something.
Yeah, something like
Scientists or something. Sure.
Science people, you know them guys.
Yeah.
And gals.
Yeah, gals. Yeah.
So you're taking them, and that's what, to me, what was cool about the game, Rob. I haven't had a game where you're taking the passengers or the goods that you're delivering, right? Because kind of that pick up and deliver.
Yeah.
And the delivery is what helps build your engine.
Delivers it to your
board. I haven't
board.
seen that.
Yeah.
To me, that was the innovative
that was
piece.
cool. Yeah, that was different.
So I think I called it did I call it a rondelle? I think I called it a rondelle.
You might have, yeah. I remember using that word.
Because it felt like I have to create this system of my train circuiting the board in a certain pattern in order to efficiently do what I wanted to do on my board. Like I know I got to hit these stations in these order so I can drop them off in that order so that I can build up these actions so that the next time I go around my loop,
you pick up more people.
I'm doing more.
Yeah, drop off more people. Yep.
And then there's sections where you fill in for getting more actions, right? So if you fill in this section with passengers, you're going to get more actions. You fill in this section with passengers, all those passengers on your player board are worth more points.
Yeah.
Right? You fill up this section with passengers, and you get to play more bonus cards at the end of the game to score them.
Yep.
But then there's a section in the bottom left that says, hey, you only have access to robots right now. If you want to pick up retail workers or office workers or embassy workers, you need to unlock them. Right? So it really makes you think of what order do I begin placing these passengers on my board so that I can get access to more passengers to pick up. I loved it.
Yeah. It was a very solid game, and mechanically, again, I'm the mechanics guy. It's very solid mechanically. You can tell it's well balanced. It's been well played. I think they'd spent a lot of time on it beforehand. I think that's why people have really liked it. I think that's why it showed up on a lot of top 10 lists. Again, kind of plain, other than those acrylic tiles, the board's kind of plain looking. The board being two-sided is also another really cool thing. The board plays differently depending on which side of the board you play. One of them was Manhattan, and the other side was Berlin in Germany. Yep. And so they just got a little bit of different theme on them, the little different way they lay out, and the way that you where you could pick people up and drop them off, and but yeah, I agree. I mean, the mechanics are very solid. It's a game I think I could play over and over and over again, and just trying to optimize that strategy on how you do things. And you can mix it up. There's the way you get your points is you draw. There's 4 different decks of 4 different kind of, what do you call them, styles of things.
Categories of objectives.
Categories, there you go. And so one's like connecting certain kinds of stations. One of them is you get points just for collecting certain kinds of passengers or robots. So there are 4 different flavors. And initially, at the beginning of the game, you will only score one of those 4 victory point cards. You hand them out randomly. Everybody gets one from each of the 4 different decks. And at the start of the game, you're only going to score one of them. But then another section of your little player board, as you fill it up with the right combination of the little meeples, as you pull them off and deliver your passengers, you can choose to deliver them down to an area that will allow you to either score a second and or a third and or a fourth of your cards. And so that is another strategy. And in a later play, we found a little possible flaw in that, but again, just another way to kind of alter the way you play the game is you can go for those cards. You can go for just scoring based off of the guys that you bring onto your board. You can score for connections.
The linkages that you make.
Try to get all your connections on the board and all your tiles out. So there's a lot of different ways to play. So I could see that being, again, adding greatly to the replayability, just doing things different ways over and over and over again. So, yeah.
Well, let's jump over to Mike, and we'll skip to the future a little bit, because Mike got introduced to Maglev at Escape WinterCon the following weekend.
Right.
What are your thoughts on Maglev, Mike?
As soon as to be honest, I don't remember when it was released. I don't remember. Sorry, I put my desk down a little bit.
I got it here. It was a 2021 release. It says on here. I know people had it before that, so it must have been right at the end of the edge of that 2020-2021 window.
Yeah, probably. I don't remember when it was released. So when you guys broke it out, I was just kind of like, all right, I'm down to play whatever, at least once. And as soon as I saw it, the first thing I thought was like, oh, this looks just like Mini Metro, which is it's a mobile game. I think it's on Steam as well. But you're basically connecting different stations, and you're limited on, how many passengers you can carry. And I mean, that one's a little bit different because if you let your passengers build up, they start getting angry at you. And if you don't pick them up in time, then you fail. But, I thought it was cool, man. I totally think the mechanics were solid. Granted, I didn't do so well because it's one of those games where I definitely think you do better after at least one full playthrough, so you can kind of get an idea of what you want to streamline. Because I think in order to do really good at the game, you have to be very what's the word I'm looking for? Efficient with your moves.
Right. It is. It definitely.
Because if you're not, you're just wasting time running over here, and there's a very little bit of take that, if you want to call it that, even if like one person gets to the passengers and picks them up before you do. There might be a little bit of that, but you'd really have to be paying attention to their board and kind of get an idea of what they're going for. But the one thing that you were mentioning was with the objective cards at the end. Dan was the fourth player that was playing with us at Escape.
Right.
And literally his objective cards were 100% against each other. It was like, in order to do this, to get this objective, you got to do this. And then you looked on the other card and it was like totally opposite,
Right.
So it's kind of like this battling objectives, but
that's where Carlos and I were talking about that on our way out that night, as we were saying, that kind of sucked for Dan was my comment. And then as we kind of thought about it, though, that's where we kind of started having this idea that I think there's enough balance in the game that, if you see that that's your draw, then you just don't place guys down there. You just score your best one. You just go with that, go strong in that. But there's enough other things on your board that you can do with, you get points just for every passenger you deliver. And so depending on the colors of passengers, some of them are worth 1 point, some are worth 2 points. There's other things you can do. Those linkages, you can make those linkages and get points for that way, because you get a point for every linkage at the end of the game.
Right. And not only that, I mean, you got the part in the top right of your board where you get, you can increase the point per passenger that you have, as well as, what was the row one?
Was the linkages. You normally get 1 point per linkage, linking two stations together with your color, and then there's
it would give you enough extra points there to where you really didn't have to pay attention to getting more objective cards completed, or getting scores,
the bonus
for those
cards,
objective cards.
Right.
It's you could direct all your attention to that other area of your board. Now, I'm curious if that would actually even it out, because I think Dan was still paying attention to his objective cards, instead of probably that area.
Think about the opportunity cost alone for me to score all 4 of my objectives.
You got to put a lot of guys down there.
That's 12 dudes.
Right.
Yeah.
Minis, meeples.
Yeah.
Passengers down there.
Right.
Imagine if you put those into the extra action section. How much more you're doing per turn.
For sure. And that's one thing as we play the game more, I think we'll get better at. But I know Mike was doing it in the first game you and I played. I don't think we did the rearrange action at all.
Ever.
But then Mike was hitting that hard in the game we played. And you can move meeples. And so I think that's important.
Only the robots.
The robots. So I think early in the game, you probably want to put those robots more in the extra actions section. But later in the game, you probably want to start pulling them out of there and putting them in other sections. So again, I think there's just another level of strategy there as we play the game more. We'll really kind of figure out how, what time is it in the game where you need to start making that transition from going to getting those extra actions and then moving them to other places where they can score you points. So
initially my strategy on it was I'm going to try and get the extra action as quickly as I can.
Sure.
But then I just, again, I wasn't being efficient enough with my moves in order to get that as early as I wanted to. But because I was paying so much attention to that, I was ignoring the types of people that I could actually pick up. So that it kind of it ruined my whole strategy in the long run. And then that's why I started taking more advantage of the rearrange action.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, well, if I got to do this, I'm I can only get there, and I can get there in one move, but if I can get another action out of it, or if I can pick up more people in this one action, it's going to help me in the long run. So that's why I was really beating up that mechanic a lot.
I really like that part about it. And they're called commuters. I'm remembering now.
Okay.
There's robots and commuters. Yeah. So the commuters are the people that you have to unlock to be able to get access to.
Yep.
I really love that, what you talked about there, Michael, where it's that balance of, do I want to take a lot of actions that don't do a lot?
Yeah.
Or do I want to focus on my 2 actions that I get, but making them some of the best darn actions available?
Right. And see, you just actually, by you saying that changes that, because when I was thinking of, if I can get another action, I was just thinking like, until you just said that, I was thinking, okay, if I can get an extra action out of this, I kind of look at it like Champions of Midgard. When you buy that 5th worker, you're getting that extra action every round. So you kind of want to do that as early as possible. But like you said, if you actually focus on that, you're getting less per action. it's not, they aren't even actions across the board.
Right. Your meeple's not as strong as my 2 actions.
I didn't even think about that.
I was focused on building a chain of actions in a proper order, right? So then I can hit the rearrange button, which I did do the second game.
Yeah.
To then on my way back around the loop, I'm dropping off more.
So
right. So my pickup action was strong, right? And my capacity was strong. And all right, now I got to start making my loop back around. So then I rearranged and made my drop off action stronger because I don't need my pickup to be as strong.
Yeah.
There's so many levers that you're like tweaking.
There's a lot of little spots on the board.
Yeah. It's a game I definitely want to play. I could see myself. I would buy it if it was cheap enough, and I know it would hit the table multiple times.
Yeah, and that 40% off or 50% off over there at Miniature Market made it the right price. So I had to grab that one. Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a long chat on that one because it was a good game.
Yeah.
That was just the hotel highlight. We got it out at Escape WinterCon.
First one we played there, but then we moved into Sunday.
So we arrive at Pieces. It's this older industrial district of St. Louis. It's all bricks.
Nice brick building, yeah.
Yep, it's all downtown, kind of like plants and warehouses and really cool looking stuff. And it's built into one of these warehouse type buildings. Yep. And we get inside and there's a small line to get in. We got to show our vaccination card. We got to be masked up.
Jamie, just to mention, there at the front door, greeting everybody as they come in, shaking hands, signed an autograph for us.
And giving away board games.
Yeah, he gave away some board games from his own personal collection. That
Rob got a copy of.
Well, it was given to both of us, but it was
Yedo.
Yedo, Yedo, yeah. And
cool.
Yeah, so that's one neither one of us had played. I know Jimmy had said on his live chat the week before that he was looking for an opportunity to get rid of some games, and then people were coming in on the live chat saying that he should donate them to charity and things like that. And he said the one drawback he didn't want to do that for was that he wanted to give them to gamers. He wanted to give them to people that were going to play them. And he said he really likes the charity idea, but he said the charity people are just the non-board gamers. It's kind of a waste to give these games to those people because they'll get lost, they won't get played or whatever. So he really wanted to give them to gamers, and so he brought a handful of them. He mentioned he's going to start bringing them to events that he goes to and just kind of give away a handful of games out of it that he's just not been able to play himself. And so, very cool.
And then we all nerded out. Like Rob and I busted out our rule books.
Yeah, we had him sign some rule books.
I had him autograph my hard copy of Scythe.
You asked him to sign your newborn child.
I did. I specifically asked him to sign my child.
All right, that's going over the line.
That was a little much. Yeah. Luckily, the child wasn't there. The child is safe.
I was going to ask him to sign my Hershey Kisses, but
no, that's another whole thing. Yeah, getting crazy. But no, yeah,
I thought I'd keep myself toned down for the event.
Yeah, okay, but yeah, he was there and was greeting everybody. It was really cool to pretty much right as you walked in the front door, there's Jeremy standing there. So that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and he had his whole crew there. There was a spread of food.
Oh yeah,
bagels and coffee and just breakfast all set up for us.
Yep.
All we can eat.
Yep.
Awesome.
The whole bar there was.
We get in, we go to our table, and we meet up with Sam. I believe his name was Sam Smith.
Yep.
He was going to be
for our first game,
for the first prototype that we played, which was first edition.
Yeah, this was a prototype convention. Just for anybody who doesn't know, it was probably, I think he said it was a total of about 70
some people.
I'd say about 50 of the people ish that were there were game designers, and so they are not related to Stonemaier Games or to Jamie Stegmaier or anything. He says that this event is specifically not to just try to promote Stonemaier. It's not for him trying to scout new games. It was just about giving an opportunity to the community of game designers to be able to come in, have one day where people can play games. They can have. He invited a handful of media this time. They've had this event for several years in the past, but this was the first year he invited media. So I guess we're media now. We're content creators. But he had a small handful. I think there was about 5 or 6 different YouTube channel content creators that were there, and he had us come out. And so that was really cool. Also, was being part of that group. We got to meet some folks. Maybe we'll touch on that. But the whole idea was to play some games. We rated the games afterwards. The thing that I wasn't really expecting that was really cool was the open feedback that the game designers were there. We were playing their games. And in the first game we played, it was first edition with Sam Smith.
That's the name of it.
Yeah, first
not the edition,
yep,
but
sorry,
that's
that
the
is
title.
The name of the game. Yep. And it was a game about, and again, you're more on theme than I am, but it was you're a collector
No. You own a small bookstore.
That's right. You're selling to collectors. You're selling to book collectors.
You're buying and selling books in hopes of buying low and finding collections or single books and making them a collection.
Make them a collection. Yeah, that was the whole thing.
And then auctioning them off.
They had different themes, so you could each book that you bought had a theme on it, and then they had authors, and you could try to collect them by theme, or you could try to collect them by it wasn't authors. Actually, it was the other one was it era?
Era.
Different time periods.
And in genres.
In genre, and then you could trade them in as you got groups of them. You could sell them individually. There was a buy price on each one and a sell price on each one. So you could sell them for small profits, or if you could get a collection of them together, I think it was either 5 from an era or 4 from a theme, then you could sell them in, and you multiplied what you sold them for, either by the 4 or by the 5.
And you got bonuses for doing the sell. So you really wanted to collect sets.
Exactly. Yep. So you're trying to collect these sets, but then money was kind of tied in it, at least initially. As we got further into the game, money was kind of free flowing. But it's an auction mechanic style game. It's not Carlos's first love. He admitted that kind of right off the bat, that he's not a big auction style kind of guy. But one of the cool things he did is he mixed in a couple of different styles of auctions. You drew event cards, and events would tell you how to do the auctions that round. And so there were some hidden auction where everybody would take a certain amount of money, put it in their hand, hold it out, and we'd all reveal together, and whoever bid the most would be able to get 1 or 2 or collect small collections.
The silent auctions.
There was a silent auction, yep. And then there were the open auctions where we just went around the table, people bid, and you had to outbid the person who went before you. Once you pass, you're out of the auction. And I believe there was a third type, if I remember.
There were multiple. There was a deck of auction events. So every time an auction occurred, you flipped the card, and it would tell you what type of auction was happening.
Yep.
So you're buying these books and then turn around selling them back to us, right? To be able to create these sets to be able to sell to the consumers, and then you lock in your sales.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So if you can.
So was this were these the phases per round? Is that how did that
on a turn, the way it worked out, you start your turn, you flip over an auction style, right? You flip, it'll tell you what type of auction is going to happen this turn. And then from there, you took actions that, depending on what you chose to do after you did the auction, you can take actions to either search books from the deck, or you can buy books from someone else's storefront.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because when you buy your books, they go to your storefront face up for anyone else to buy at the sale value. No. So you're trying to collect a set.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I may be trying to collect a set of a certain genre, horror, right? I want to get all these 5 horror books together or 4 horror books together to be able to create a set. And I'm on my 3rd one, but you need one more. It's in my storefront. You can buy it off me for its face value.
Right, for the sell value, which is higher than the buy
That sounds
value.
like a lot of take that going on.
We didn't catch on to that until I would say it was probably the last maybe third of the game. We kind of started realizing, hold on, we've been kind of ignoring this mechanic, and there was 4 of us playing, and we were like, we can just buy stuff out from under each other, and that's where I wanted to touch on. Sam was particularly. The game designer, he was a first-time designer, I believe. He mentioned he was a recent graduate, I think, from a local college there, Washington University at St. Louis, was right near where our hotel was.
I think he just finished his PhD or something.
Yeah, said he'd been there for a little while. I've been going to school there, and so I believe, I think he said he was a first-time designer, and he was very open to feedback. And I will say, at one point, I was a little uncomfortable. I mentioned this to Carlos, that some of the feedback was a little brutal, I thought, but he was taking notes. He was writing stuff down. He was very open to kind of hearing some things. And so that was one of the mechanics we mentioned, is that once we kind of started thinking about the game more, and we kind of started getting that hook that you could just buy cards out from each other, we kind of mentioned to him, we said, well, hold on, that might be a little bit of a broken mechanic that, Right,
because it's possible that you'll never get your set.
Right. And then you're actually just causing somebody to spin an action, because I could buy it from you, and then if I don't sell it or cash it in as part of a set, then if you're after me, you can just buy it directly back. And I think it was 2 actions per turn is what you got. And so you ended up having to spend one of those 2 actions. So by knowing that somebody, if I know Carlos is after me, and I know I'm sitting there looking and everything's open, it's all out in front of him, I can see he's got a set of 5 that he's waiting to sell on his next turn. I can buy the one out from under him, just so now he's down to 4, and unless he lucks into one on his next turn, he's just going to buy it back again when it comes to his turn. But it kind of wastes an action for him. So his first action is just going to be to buy it back.
Or even worse, Robert, you can take a sell action, buy it off me for $50,000 for $50.
It would be my whole turn,
right?
Yep.
And then just sell it as an individual book, not get the bonuses, but get your $50 back.
Right.
So you netted 0.
Right.
But you prevented me from ever creating that set.
Right. And so that was a
Or
little
you
bit
could lose 2 or 3 books in one round then at that point, right?
potentially if everybody going around the table all decided they wanted to buy from you, they could just take books right out from.
So there were some things that needed to be worked on, but I think Robert hit on this too.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize that morning until after that first game is Robert and I were there as just a couple of guys hanging out playing some games.
We just wanted to test some games out.
Sure.
The 2 other players that were there were also designers who had games themselves that they were showing.
Oh, wow.
So they were hitting them with like, well, when I design a game, I look for this and cut this out. And that's where Robert and I kind of like, when mom and dad are arguing at the table, you kind of
we kind of sat back and we're like, oh these guys know what they're talking about.
I'm gonna let them talk.
So and one of them was from the video game world. He'd said he'd designed several video games and he'd been working on stuff for a while. And then the other one was a game designer who had already had a couple designs under his belt. So they definitely knew what they were talking about in those avenues a little bit more. But I'd say we had some pretty good feedback. Also, I mean, we were all in there kind of pitching them ideas. And like I say, he was
once they opened the door with their feedback, then I felt like, oh, okay, so this is how this
works. Yeah, this is what we're doing here. We're giving you feedback.
We play a game and then we brainstorm on how we can make it better.
Right.
And Sam is taking notes, and Sam is like, you know what, I can try it this way, and we're like, that sounds good.
And these designs were in various stages. I mean, because Sam's was still fairly new. He'd done some playtesting.
Printed paper in sleeves.
Right. It was
handwritten tokens.
He mentioned his friends had played. At the university, he had a group of guys who had played it, and they had done some playtesting. But then to transition into the next game we played, it was kind of the opposite. And I can let you take over more here. Carlos,
House of Cards by Mike Young. It's a fast, like 5 to 10 minutes fast.
Real quick,
card game for almost like a party game with multiple people. The goal of the game is to win. The way you win is by having the most influence on the
highest royal. Highest royal.
So it's kind of like a regicide thing going here where your royals are dying. So your faction has to have the most influence on the royals. And the way that works, you get a deck of cards for your faction, and each card is going to have a certain number of influence for your faction printed on that card. But what's weird is your cards also have a number of influence for all the other factions that are at the table. So like your card might have a yellow shield for you, right? You're the yellow faction. But it might have 2 purple shields, which are Rob's faction. He's purple. Right, we don't know who's who though. All our factions are hidden.
We don't know secretly. Yeah.
Yep. We all secretly don't know who's got what factions. And then what you're gonna do on your turn is you're gonna take 2 actions on your turn. You're gonna take a action. It'll tell you what you do. Usually it's placing 2 cards. Yep. For the most part, every time you take an action, it's gonna be placing 2 cards face down on a royal. Right. So king, queen, or prince.
Yeah.
Or on a commoner,
right?
So like the cook, I can't remember what the commoners, because they're commoners.
Yeah,
I don't remember them. But the thing with the commoners is the commoners seek out and kill a certain type of royal.
Yeah.
So if you have the most influence, I don't know, on the cook, right? He kills the king.
Yeah. Or you have your choice, usually the king or the prince.
So they all have different options of who they kill. So you're trying to figure out, how do I have the most influence on a royal and also protect them by taking influence over the commoner that targets them, so that I can point them in a different direction?
Yeah.
All I know is I had no idea what the heck was going on.
Oh yeah, it was pretty random. It felt like
it felt.
There was a lot of randomness. There was a lot, and we were playing with, was it 8 people? So
damn near max.
Yeah, there was. It was a lot of, this was feedback we gave to the designer to Mike Young, and again, he was fairly open. Although I would say that my transition was going to be that his game was very much in the late stages. His was the cards were all printed. They were nice color. Artwork was done. He had mentioned that actually he was getting ready at one point to sell this to a publisher. He had an offer from a publishing company to publish it and put it out, and he decided at the last minute that he wanted to do it on his own, and he declined the offer, and that he was just doing some final play testing. He had come up with some advanced characters, some advanced factions that we got the second or third game we played. We introduced those.
Anarchy and all these other things that just
Yeah.
I think with this many players, I think that was the detriment, was too many players.
We mentioned that to him, that anything more than about 4, maybe 5 players, it was just too much to keep track of who was tucking cards under which royal, under which other one, and it kind of felt random. You were just like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go for the queen because it's not the king, and everybody's probably going to try to kill the king, but then I got to try to get the commoner who's going to protect the queen, and so...
But then we just flip, you take a person and you flip all the cards underneath them, you count up the power influence.
At the end, yeah.
Right, at the end of it, and then that determines who had the influence in them, and then... I don't know. What was that game that Barry taught us at game day? Kind of reminded me of this one.
Yeah.
Where you're taking influence in different factions, and it's kind of you're assassinating.
I don't remember
some.
the name of it. Yeah.
Blackwater, Black something.
Let me look at my phone, see if I can grab it real quick.
Either way, I think that one did it
Blackout?
better.
No.
It did it better. And Rob might find it, but this one just felt too rando.
Yeah, there was a lot of random, I think, for sure.
And I'm not sure how far our feedback would have gone because he was pretty far down.
He took a few notes, and again, that was another transition I was going to make between, and again, nothing personal, but Mike had put a lot of time. He mentioned he already had a lot of play testing with this game, but between Sam and Mike, there was definitely a transition. Sam, again, maybe it was because he was a first-time designer, but he was making a lot of notes. He was not very defensive at all about comments and stuff. Mike was a little more about, well, if you don't like it, it's pretty much done. So I mean, I'll write down some notes, but this is my game. It's pretty polished. It's pretty much done. And so it was just a little bit of a different feeling through that one. But and again, I agree. His game was pretty done. I mean, it was pretty close to being what it was. So he was just looking for some finishing touches on it. So, but it was still a fun game.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that gets us to our last game called Sky Song. This is one that Robert signed up for me for my sake. He signed us up for it because it's designed by Clayton Smith, and Clayton is a huge TI4 fan.
Oh yeah, you could see TI4 all over this one.
It was just like all over, from to the window to the wall. I mean, this thing was just covered in TI4, and I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it. Except for in this world, you're on a world with floating islands, so you're trying to take area control of these spaces, these hexes on the board.
It's a modular board that you're putting together as you play.
But these islands float, and as actions, you can actually literally move the islands, like float them. So I can put a whole army on this island and then kind of move that whole island over to shift the way the board is set up,
that idea
the way the board is placed.
Really cool.
But there's also this AI faction in there, this darkness that's coming through, that's attacking everyone.
Yeah.
So it's attacking. So it's like a force that you have to reckon with, you have to fight, but it's not your neighbor. So it feels like a lot of people were able to do combat, but not have the bad feelings of I'm combating someone else.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of people that I play games with don't like the conflict part of TI4.
Sure.
Having to fight someone at the table. In this game, you can fight, but you're fighting an AI source. This is one had beautiful artwork. He had really thought out his actions, his cards.
Yeah, this is another one that was close to done.
This probably was, I think it was the highest rated of the three because they gave us a list of all the top games that, the rankings.
I think that's right.
For the feedback that day. And it was, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th place.
Okay. Yeah.
It was top 6 of the day.
It was a nice game and really asymmetrical. That was the one thing. We all played different races, I guess you'd call them, and they were all very different. They all had different ways they took actions. It reminded me of Root. He mentioned that there was some influence from Root.
The asymmetry.
Yeah, the whole asymmetric thing, and you're all doing things kind of differently. So the actions kind of have similar results, but our player boards looked very different. And the way you did actions, the way you spent resources was very different. And what kind of resources you needed to take actions was different between each of the factions. But yeah, it was again a lot of TI in there. You could feel the influence of TI. With the way the kind of the board laid out and the resource collection, a little bit of exploration.
The combat was card based, and I thought the combat was awesome. It was very Kemet like.
Yeah,
very Kemet feel to the combat.
Yep, definitely.
I played a Fey faction, kind of like fairies, forests, and stuff. And my faction really did feel like a Fey faction. I'm growing forest. Yeah. I'm spawning, monsters from these forests. I'm attacking your structures and tearing down your building. Rob played like an industrial type. Like a Halliburton type faction where they were tapping oil effectively, creating factories. So everybody had a different feel, and it was a strong game. So that was the last design game that we played.
Yep. And it was a good day. At the end of the day, we did. Just to touch on it again, we had
That was like lunchtime at that point.
Yeah, so we had a nice time with Jeremy at lunch. Jamie, not Jeremy. Jamie Stonemaier. He invited us over to his table, and he just wanted to chit chat. So we got a chance to sit down. I know you talked baseball. We talked Puerto Rico. We talked
not the board game.
No, not the game. Not the board game. The actual the
Territory.
It's fine. What's the territory?
I'm from a territory. I'm okay with that.
Okay, a state, a part of the United States, but okay, yeah, but it was just a good time. It was a real casual. The whole event was just casual, and I know Jeremy said afterwards that he really liked. He was kind of a little on the fence about inviting media. That he really wanted it to just be kind of the board game designers bouncing ideas off and testing out each other's stuff. But then he mentioned afterwards that he really enjoyed the idea of having some content creators and some media people there, and that he plans to do that going forward, and he invited us back for next year, so that'll be awesome.
I'm happy.
Yeah, definitely going to go.
Sweet.
So.
We played a little bit of Sagrada, so Rob got introduced to Sagrada. We got to play some Wingspan with some designers.
Yep.
So it was fun talking to them because they talk about games in a whole different way.
Oh yeah,
Right? They're talking about the mechanics behind the game and the design of the game,
finding flaws and things.
and then we got to teach Ira and Chris, a couple of the designers that were there. We got to teach them brass.
Yeah,
we shut the place down.
Yeah, they mentioned that they were like, we just got a copy of brass, and we're gonna. They mentioned after we were eating lunch with them or having snacks with them, and they mentioned, well, we're getting ready to go head back in the back and play some brass, and we're like, oh,
your ears
brass.
perked
Yeah,
right
exactly.
up. I bet.
We looked at each other and like, oh, well, we were gonna just read the book and learn how to play, and we're like, nope, we got you. We played that one. So neither one of them knew the rules to it yet. So yeah, that was a lot of fun.
We were sitting outside.
What did they think of it after you guys played?
At first, I wasn't sure, because
Ira really liked it, I know, but
Chris was with us in one of the playtest
the first one we did,
we did, and Chris had some tough feedback. And I can hear Chris going into the tough feedback about brass early on.
Yeah, he did. He was criticizing some stuff. He's like, well, that mechanic doesn't seem to be, that. And
I think it was the comment he made of, and this is ranked where on BGG?
Yeah, that's what he did. He asked us. He's like, hold on, this is ranked where? He's like, I don't see it.
But at the end of the game, he was all over
it. Well, he stomped us, but he figured it out. So he knew the inner workings. And again, he has one of those minds. You could kind of see his mind working as we were going through, and he's like, oh, yeah, okay, I need to do that, to do that, to do that, to get that. And so yeah, he figured it out on his first play. He won pretty handily. But
it wasn't just that he won; that he also prevented me from getting points.
He was blocking.
Where was it? It's in here somewhere. Let me find it. That was Brass Birmingham on September 12th. Yeah. He had 113 points. I had 71.
Yeah,
I've never been that
Yikes.
low.
Wasn't.
I've never been that low.
Yeah,
I think Rob, you were at 94, and Ira was at 94.
Yeah, we tied.
You guys tied.
Yeah.
But Chris won it at 113.
Yeah.
So, I mean, brass is still legit. Great game.
Oh yeah. We'll play that.
So we ended the night off sitting outside, chatting with a few other designers who were waiting for their Ubers while we were waiting for our wives to pick us up.
Yep.
And
it was good times.
It was definitely good times.
I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to go back next year. So hopefully we'll be able to sync up. Still gonna fly, and still not gonna drive. You can do that. You can
hey,
driving stuff's for
I had the minivan there, and that's how you got to Taco Bell Sunday night.
I'll walk to Taco Bell. I mean, I offered. So.
And then I proceeded to do a 21-hour drive back on Monday, all the way back to Tampa.
Crazy.
All in one shot. We made it safe, thank God.
Yeah.
But then that got us into the next week, which by Wednesday, Mike, you were preparing for Escape WinterCon.
He was at Escape Winter by Wednesday.
Yeah.
So give us
give us an intro of how that went. How did you get there?
Walk us through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
So Dan from Your Turn Cafe, or Your Turn a Board Game Cafe, we both, I stayed at his place Tuesday night because he lives closer to Orlando than I do. And I just ended up driving the both of us up there for Wednesday. I think we got there probably like a little bit after 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, something like that in the morning. And right away, I mean, as soon as we got our badge, we were just, all right, what do we checked into the room. We went over there, got our badge. We're like, okay, what are we playing? We already had our bag full of games that we were ready to play. I don't even think we didn't even check out a game in the library. Huh? So the entire time, because we had we had such a plethora of games. Like I had my hatchback, and literally the entire hatchback was full of games. we're taking pictures and sending them to each other the night before, like, okay, what games are you bringing? I'm like, all right, I'm going to bring this. Well, don't bring that. I'm going to bring it myself. Okay, well, and it was just like, how the hell are we going to fit all this stuff in my car?
Well, we're going to have to do a show on that, because Carlos and I were talking about that before the cons as well. And for me, part of what you pay for at the con is to go and play their games. So
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, and he's always load everything up.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I just say he's always wanting to load up. He's pulling games off the shelf. He's like, well, I got to bring this and I got to bring that. I mean, that's a staple. We got to play that. I'm like, Carlos, I want to go. I want to learn some new games. I want to play their games. That's part of what I'm going for. But yeah, go ahead.
I'm with Mike.
Yeah, I know.
Well, the thing is I would say a majority of the games that we brought were games that we haven't played before. They're games that we owned.
Okay.
And we wanted to learn them while we were there, and we didn't want to take a chance on it either not being in the library or it already being checked out.
All right, well, that's not so bad then.
Yeah, so I mean, I ended up learning a lot of games while I was there. So anyway, first day, we had, I'm trying to remember if it was that day or no, it was that night. We were signed up to play Dominant Species with a guy that was teaching it, and Dan had never played it, and I had only played half a game. I had to leave in the middle of the game like over 2 years ago. I think Lonnie was teaching that game. And so I didn't get all the rules, and because I didn't make it to the end of the game. But so we had that at like 6 p.m. So we just busted out a few games, like played Onitama, which is a great game. I finally got the first expansion for that when I was in Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
It was the weekend before that. I went to Mox, which is like a board game cafe out there. That was like huge. That was like that was kind of like a wake up call. Like, man, this is a board game store. I'm sure Miniature Market was, even bigger, but to me, like, this was the biggest one I'd even walked into. So we played Onitama, we played Silver and Gold, Cartographers. And then by that time, we had eaten, and then Dominant Species. And Dan and I must have told this story a million times, but I just feel the need to tell this story.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So we were playing with 6 people. The other 4 people there, including the guy that was teaching it, had played this game multiple times.
I don't think I heard the story, so I'm in. Go for it.
Oh, you haven't heard that? Oh,
I don't think you're going, and I don't remember the story.
I know Rob heard. I think we told Rob this story. So anyway, the 4 other people there had played it multiple times. Like, they knew the game in and out. They knew the strategies. They knew like what was going to happen at the end of the game. And Dan and I were just kind of like, all right, well, you're teaching us the game. And it took a few rounds for it, like everything to kind of click in my head.
Yeah, a little complex there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little complex. And if you don't know what you're doing immediately, because I was the mammals, which was like top of the food chain.
Yep.
But I was missing out on some things because of that. And so anyway, we're probably, I don't know, 4 rounds into it, maybe. And the moves I'm taking are the types of moves where I'm like, all right, I'm going to try this. And, you're placing your cylinders on the actions that you want to take. And then they read like a book, left to right, top to bottom.
Yep.
And I'm like, all right, well, I'll try putting my guy here and my cube. Yeah. And so as they're going through, I'm taking my actions and I'm just doing things to see what happens, because I'm trying to learn the game. To me, this is a learning game. Well, apparently
for them, it was cutthroat. Yeah.
Oh yeah. For them, it was, I'll get into that in a moment, but
yeah.
The guy that was teaching it, like, I kept doing things to him unintentionally that were like ruining his plans in the game. And they got, I did this one thing where he got so pissed off that he literally took his hat off and threw it across the table.
What?
And it almost hit the guy directly across from him. Like, it buzzed his head, like on the side. And it, we were at the first table there, and it hit the wall. And he's like, like, you could just feel the fumes coming off of this guy. He was so freaking hot over this. And I was like, look, man, I was like, whoa, like, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just, I'm trying to learn the game here.
You ruined his good time.
No, I ruined his good time. No. And the thing is like, he ended up winning the game at the end, but I don't know. There was one other guy that was playing that was actually kind of helpful and kind of like doing his own thing. And And but there was one other guy that was sitting at the table, and I went to take a move, and he was like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" It was like the kind of thing, like if it's games that you don't know what you're doing, you kind of make a move, and like if it's their first time playing, I would say like, well, you may not want to do that because, and you kind of give them a little heads up on certain things initially, and then you kind of like let them do their own thing. Well, every time you would make a move like that, there'd be like, oh, well, that's an interesting move. And you could tell in the tone of their voice, they're like, what the hell are you doing over there? Like, why are you even taking that move?
But they wouldn't tell you.
So yeah, and they wouldn't say anything about it, and then there was one time I was taking an action and the guy was like, are you sure you want to do that? And I was thinking like, well, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, is this guy actually helping me out now? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to take and I took the action, and he like made this like facial expression, like he was pissed off because I blocked him from doing something. And it was like, you're trying to get me to change my actions because you're not going to be able to do what you want to do because you know the game so well. It's just like, I mean, regardless, it was a good game. I think I actually came in third place. I started walking away. I started catching up at the very end, like whenever you take points and end of game points. But it's a fun game. I would definitely play it. I can see why it's rated so high on BGG. Yeah.
And that kind of, I guess, reminds me of the feeling that I get when I go to the cons. I feel like, wow, we really spent a lot of time together. Yeah. Like our group of folks, our guys that, we drove down with. But then the flip side of it is you risk ending up in a game, a 3-hour game, that gets soured because you're playing with people you don't know.
Right.
Like,
and I was telling Dan, like, this is the first, I mean, not that I've been to a lot of cons, but I was like, this is the first con, like, where we don't have our gaming group with us or people from our gaming group with us, really.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a few people, but Dan and I were not going to sit down for 8 hours and wait. I shouldn't say waste. We weren't going to spend an entire day playing TI4. That was not in our, that wasn't our plan to do something like that, to play with Xeno.
Well, not with an attitude like that, you're not.
I'm just saying, like, we were trying to fit in as many new games as we possibly could.
You were trying to have fun.
We didn't want to dedicate an entire day. Like, even Dan was going to teach
Frontier.
Yes, Frontier
High
for
Frontier.
All.
Yeah.
Or High Frontier. He was looking to teach that, and I was like, "Are you sure you want to spend like an entire day teaching that to somebody? Like, what if they have to leave in the middle of the game?" Or he's like, "Oh yeah, you're right. Maybe I shouldn't do that." And he kind of like pulled it off. But anyway, so that was pretty much the first day. Second day, I actually was teaching Asonia in the morning. I ended up with all 4 people. Dan ended up playing with us and met a new gentleman, I can't remember his name, and a new woman, and taught the game. And funny enough, Dan and I didn't win either game. We actually, the first game we played, the new guy played. And as we're playing, they were commenting like, oh, this is actually a really good game because they said it's like all new terms, but the terms make sense. And, except for like a couple of minor ones. But once you saw it in action, it really made sense.
Yeah.
And he ended up winning the first game. And I was like, if you guys want to, we can play another game. If you don't, totally cool. And both of them were on board immediately. So I was like, oh, awesome. So you must like it.
Good game.
And then the woman ended up winning the second game. And she even made a comment like, she said, when I sat down and saw that this was a deck building game, I was like, oh no. Cause she's like, I really don't like deck building games, but this one is different. It like really plays well. And she ended up winning the second one. And we all had a good time. I mean, they both said that they would definitely play the game again. So I guess I played it. I taught it too well because they beat us at it. So
yeah, I think somebody does a video on it. Somebody did a video on it. Did a really good job of it.
Yeah, somebody.
Oh yeah, I wonder who that was.
A little YouTube
one
video.
mic, one game.
Yeah.
So Dan and I learned 51st State. We played a game of Cascadia. We played a couple of games of 51st State because the first one, I'm sure we got a few things wrong with. The second one, we started narrowing it down. And then when you guys showed up on Saturday. So this was
Thursday. You had already played it twice Thursday?
Yeah. We were still kind of like learning it though. Like the first game we fumbled through and we're like, oh, okay, we did that rule wrong. And You want to play it again? Yeah, we reset it. We played different factions.
Love it.
Because some of the factions are asymmetrical.
Right.
And then when you guys showed up, you guys were like, hold on, I think you're doing this action wrong.
We found a few
where you
little things. Yeah, I'm an Imperial Settlers guy, so that's one of my, it's definitely my top 10 all time, so close to top 5. So there was some things that the 51st State was kind of a reskin, and they streamlined some things. They added a few small things, but there were a few things that I was like, oh, no. In Imperial Settlers, this is done a little differently. So we went and double-checked, and yeah, there were a few little things, but they were just minor tweaks, but...
Well, one of the things where the bottom, not where you trade the 2 workers in, but the thing above that where you have like 3 different actions that you can take. Dan and I read it originally like you can only do one of these actions once per round.
Right.
Where it was you could do each action once per round.
Right.
So that kind of changed I think Dan probably would have won one of the previous games that we played if he was able to do that. But
yeah.
So anyway, we played that Cascadia. We learned mind management, which is a hidden movement game.
Yep.
That was a Kickstarter that delivered for both of us recently that we just never got into. We weren't with the right group to play it with. And Dan was like, let's learn the game, so we broke it out. And it took us a few hours the way that they wrote the rule book was kind of interesting because they're just like, if this is your first time playing, only, any text that's highlighted in green, that's going to be for your first time playing. Ignore all the text in the red. And we're like, how the heck is that going to work out? So we actually went through it. We played our first game. We kind of fumbled through it. We, talked it over a little bit, and then we reset it and we played with the red text, and it really opened up the entire game. Like I think the first game there was no way I was going to win because Dan was doing the hidden movement guy. He was the recruiter.
Yep.
And I was the guys trying to hunt him down. And I think they set it up so that the time frame that you played it in, there's no way you're really going to have enough rounds to actually find the recruiter, the hidden movement guy. But it kind of taught you the basics of what you really needed to know. And then once we set it up for the second time and we read all the red rules, it was like, whoa, there's a lot to this game. Like, even like all the little comic books that we played it all the way through, and I lost the second time. And then it said, okay, if you were this team and you lost, open up the big book. And there's I think there's 7 or 8 comic books, like mini comic books in little game trays.
Tuck boxes or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. And it's, there's 7 for one side and 7 for the other side. So if you're the one side that lost, you open up the book and it kind of gives you a little bit of an advantage for the next game that you. And it's cool because it's like a little 4-page comic that basically teaches you what that mechanic does, and then you put it into your repertoire of options that you have. And then I guess it's supposed to help you enough so that when you do beat the recruiter, then the recruiter gets some options.
Right.
He opens up his own comic book. So that was really cool. I like that game.
And that was just the 2 of you?
It was just the 2 of us. So I was controlling all 4 people on my side, and he had the 1 recruiter. And we were actually saying it probably would play better at full count because then you have more people to discuss with, like, okay, well, we know that he was here on this move. You can kind of brainstorm a little bit more. It'd probably take a little bit longer, but I think we came to the conclusion that it'd probably be better played with 3 to 4 to 5 people instead of just 2. But so after that, I think Dan taught
BGG agrees with you though, because BGG says best at 5.
Yeah, I think that definitely.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. Yeah. Dan taught Thunder Alley. There's 3 of us that played a guy that's never played before, and he ended up winning.
You guys are too good at this teaching thing.
I know. I think we're too good at teaching. The funny thing is we were on the last lap, and one of my cars had 3 permanent damage, and it's just because of I think it was a green flag, but it was like whoever has the most whatever, you're going to get 2 permanent damage of this. And I was like, and it was my car, of course.
Nice.
So we were like we're about halfway through the 3rd lap now out of 3 laps. And I was like, I'm determined to get this car to pass the finish line first. Like I was doing everything I could because it already had like 4 damage on it. And I'm like, I got to get this car in line somewhere where we can keep pushing it forward and pushing it forward. It didn't end up winning, but out of all 4 cars of mine, I think it was 4 cars that we were racing with. Out of all 4 cars, it was the one that crossed the finish line first.
Did you have to push it forward with all your other cars?
Of course.
Pretty much. That's why you do that.
Of course. So
You made a little human centipede of cars and just pushed them all forward.
I can keep going through these games really quick if you want me to.
No, I want to talk Thunder Alley though, because some of my favorite games of Thunder Alley were low player count. I really like Thunder Alley at low player count. You played with us in the league. I don't think you've played outside the league often, right? The leagues we played 6-7 players in the league.
I think the second time I ever played the game was when we played at Dice Tower, 2019, and we had
4 or 5 of us.
We had a full table. It was because I remember my son was playing, Dan was playing.
Yeah,
I know you were playing. I'm pretty sure Rob was playing.
Yeah, I was sleeping.
Yeah, probably sleeping.
No, that was afterward.
So have you really ever played often at low player count, 3 or lower?
Not very often, no, but it was enjoyable.
Right.
I thought it was good.
I feel like I have more control over my cars. I can set up chains and combo my cars to push my cars around, but much more strategic. I can get a little more strategic on my turn than I can in regular Thunder Alley.
And I think almost the entire game, none of us worked together.
Right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like intentional. It was just like, oh, we're doing okay, And I might have asked, the new guy or Dan once, like, hey, if you can work us up to this point, I can get us even further. And even like whoever I was asking about that, they were like, no, I don't have the cards for that. And we just kept playing. So it was definitely more strategic with what you had in your hand.
Yeah. And I like
you're
that.
On your own,
you're getting 2 different games. You get the big 8-player party game. By the time it comes back around to you, you have no idea what's happened.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or the 2-3-player game where you're strategizing all cards out of your hand that you're going to play.
Yeah, you've got
and what order you're going to play them in.
Enough cards and enough cars that you can do your own thing. Yeah.
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 Thunder Alley's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great game.
It's a great game, man. It's just, if I would play it anytime somebody brought it up, I'd be like, hell yeah, let's get it to the table. Let's play this.
And we're still on Thursday, or are we Friday now?
This was
Thursday night?
Thursday. It was Thursday.
That's a jam pack. Keep going. I know you sound like you're going too long winded, but I'm enjoying listening to what you're getting played.
All right, cool, man. Yeah. So then we had.
Did you eat? I mean, we haven't talked food
I mean,
yet.
I think, I brought peanut butter and jelly and bread, kept it in the room. And, I think the first day we ran back, had a few sandwiches and came back. But we did our rounds. We made a point of saying, look, we're only going to go out to eat once per day, wherever it is, we're only going to go there once. That way we keep the money, at a minimum. We brought stuff from the grocery store and we had the Wawa right there anyway. So
yes.
We didn't have to go to Starbucks for coffee every morning. We went over to Wawa and saved some money that way.
Smart. Very smart.
Yeah.
Here we are Thursday night? What are we, Thursday afternoon?
We're coming up on Thursday night now. Yeah, because we had a game of Detective City of Angels. There was somebody that was going to host
really?
it. Yeah. He originally, when they posted, he was like, do you mind if we play the first scenario, or have you guys played before? And Dan and I were the only ones that signed up for quite a while up until the con. And we're like, look, we've only played the first one. And the guy said, oh, perfect. Let's play the second one then. We're like, awesome. And he was going to be, what are they called?
The shill?
The chisel.
The chisel. That's right. Chisel.
Right. Yeah.
Rob's
so the guy that was host.
The shill, the chisel. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And then 2 other women signed up. And the guy did a really good job. I thought he did really well as the chisel, because it's a tough. Yeah. I think it's a tough role because you really have to balance, not making it so hard for the people playing, because you really can, make it very hard for them to get any information. And he did a really good balancing act of like spreading around. No, I'm not giving you that information, and kind of like being in character, like throwing the hat back at you. Which is like
literally throwing the hat though, like dominant species.
No, not like quite there. The little like, plastic hat.
The little.
I remember.
He's like, no, cop, get out of here. I'm not going to give you any info. Anyway, Dan and I didn't win. Dan was the first one to guess who because in that particular one, you had to guess who the murderer was, what the weapon was, and the reason for the murder, the motive behind it. And he made a guess, and the guy was like, and he handed it back, and Dan was like, I thought I had it. And then the woman that was sitting next to me, she was like, I think we're on the, she's literally telling Dan, I'm pretty sure we're on the same wavelength. And if you didn't get it right, I must be way off. And it went like maybe 2 or 3 more rounds, and she ended up guessing, I think 2 days before the end of the game, because it's played in days. And she guessed 100% right on her first guess,
nice.
Which was pretty cool. It was just, but it was a fun game because everybody got along at the table. And even it was funny because the woman that ended up winning, she's never played before, where the rest of us have. And initially, it didn't look like she was even interested in the game. And I'm thinking, oh man, this is going to be a bad game for her because it can get a little lengthy if you're not into it. But immediately, like you could see, like the gears started turning, and she was like, okay, I want to move here, and then I'm going to search for this. It's like she was on her game the whole time after that. And I even tried one of my, I think when you guys played with me, when Dan was the chisel, where that, I don't know if you guys remember this, the one time where I like stopped at an odd number location.
I remember that.
And I was like, I want to search there. And I took really long. I was like, and I started writing down this information. You guys were like, what?
You sucked me in there. I went there right after you did. Yeah.
So I did that. And as soon as I okay, I want to go here. And it was like right on the border because it was somewhere where you had to go anyway to go into another part of the city. And I was like, okay, I'm going to search there. And then I started writing down like a bunch of gibberish on my paper. And the one woman was like, when did you get that? Like you could see like, how did you know to... And I kind of pulled Dan into it. I kind of tricked him into it because he actually went there and stopped. And as soon as he saw the card, because usually it's like, if there's nothing there, it's like, you get one scratch with like $1 or whatever. He looked at the card and he started laughing. And then he started writing down on his paper, like he got some information out of it.
Funny.
You guys are sitting there drawing stick figures, doing nothing.
Yeah. So that was really fun. And I think now we're getting into the next day. So we played 7 Bridges, which is a roll and write game.
This is Friday morning.
Yeah, I think
that's what it is.
It was either Friday or Saturday. I can't remember now. My days are kind of blending into each other. Oh, no, you know what? This must have been Saturday morning. It was Friday night that we played Detectives because Saturday morning we played 7 Bridges, and then you guys showed up.
Right.
And then we played Maglev.
Wait, you guys had already played a game before we got there?
Oh, yeah.
Man, we got there like right at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, maybe that was the last game that we played Friday night then. Maybe that's what it was.
I love cons. There's so much gaming going on.
It all blends in, yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's crazy. So you guys showed up then, and I think we immediately just broke into Maglev.
Was it Maglev our first
you guys
one?
might have talked to a few other people, and then we got into that game.
We got into Regicide because Rob and I had got there early. So,
correct.
Rob and I leave Tampa right around 7:30. You picked me up at 7.
It's about right, yeah.
We jumped into Rob's hatchback. We didn't quite load it with games like you did.
Yeah.
Well, you were only there for a couple of days.
But Rob stopped me. Like I wanted to, but Rob stopped me.
Oh, no. Yeah, so we got their games.
So he limited me to 1 miniature market bag full of games, and I was able to fit it. And then we loaded up the hatchback, hit the Wawa here in my side of town, got some coffee, some breakfast, some drinks, loaded up the cooler, and then made our way to Orlando. Traffic was beautiful. We got in there and met Monica right about 8:50, like right before they opened the desk, and she was like, "Yeah, come on up, I'll get your badges."
Yep.
I had a great chat with her. Apparently, she is she
the
runs
organizer. Of 5 different cons, I think she said.
Yeah, she has 4 or 5 different cons that she's running with a tabletop expo, I think it's called. I have it on the Instagram. I'll put it in the description
Notes,
here. But she was sweet. Got us badged in, talked to us about her upcoming cons.
That was cool.
So we're going to reach out to her about checking them out. She's got one coming up in Jacksonville.
Yep. Brand new one.
She's doing a prototype con in Atlanta. So it's all prototyping in Atlanta.
She does Tantrum Con in North Carolina.
Tantrum Con up in the Carolinas. Yep. And there was a 4th one, the cruise. She's got a cruise that she's doing. So it looks like the cons are coming strong. I'm happy.
Yeah.
But right after that, you guys were, I think, getting your coffee and breakfast stuff in the morning. When I say you guys, I mean Mike and Dan, because they were already there in the hotel. Rob and I sat down, grabbed the table, and I taught Rob Regicide. Which is a little card game using a deck of cards where you're the goal of the game is to win. The way you win is cooperatively defeating all the jacks, queens, and kings of the deck in that order. So you got 12 different cards you need to defeat. On your turn, you're going to play cards from your hand to do damage to the current boss at that moment. You got to go through the jacks before you go through the queens, before you go through the kings. So you're going to play cards from your hand for their value to do damage to them, as well as the suit is going to have a power. That power is going to do different things. So you got to work together to figure out what to play, because at the end of your turn, the king or boss or whatever it is that's there, the face card is going to attack you back. And now you got to discard cards up to the value of the damage they did to you. And then you pass to the next player. And you got to work together to refill the deck, because the deck's going to get depleted. You got to work together to play cards that let you draw from the deck, because your hand's going to get depleted. And if you don't have cards in your hand, when you take damage, you lose, right? And then you're going to do damage. You're going to play cards to do damage. You can combo them up, which is cool because you're doing more damage and using more powers. But then I realized it's also bad, because now you may have played 3 cards out of your hand and you don't have enough to absorb the damage at the end of your turn.
And you really can't discuss anything with the other people at the table. You can kind of say, oh, don't worry, but you really can't say, this is what I have in my hand.
Right. Kind of like the mind, where you're really not allowed to talk about it, but you kind of can a little bit.
Yeah, you can set your own rules.
Probably more like the crew.
Yeah, I guess more like the crew.
There you go.
But man, that game was hard.
Oh yeah. Getting to the queens was tough. I said I can't imagine how anybody gets to or through the kings, but yeah.
Well, I guess because when the one thing you didn't mention is, like, when you beat the face cards, you can actually work them back into your deck, and then you have their more powerful card that could possibly be dealt out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a hard game, but it was fun. I mean, for something that you could play with just a deck of cards. I mean, granted, we were playing with the Avengers cards that you had there. The Avengers playing 11. Cards would made it a little more thematic, which was pretty cool. It actually made me go out and get a deck so I could use that to play when I introduce people to it.
All right. Yeah, because the Avengers cards, the Theory 11 cards, what they do with the face cards is whatever theme you buy, the face cards are different characters from that theme. So, like, the Avengers deck has Star-Lord and
Spider-Man and Hulk and
Black Widow, and the Star Wars cards have, like, Luke Skywalker and Vader and Leia as the face card. So I was playing around like, okay, so this is the hero that went bad that we got to kill now, right? Let's kill Spider-man. So it did add a little bit of theme to it.
A little bit, yeah.
So I'm glad to see you liked it enough to buy it. It's just something I wanted to share and show. And I think Rob and I got a game in, and then we got 2 games when you and Dan showed up, and that's when we hit Maglev, which we talked about earlier in the show. Yeah,
and that was a lot of fun. I think it was pretty unique. I mean, granted, it's a pick up and deliver game, and the heart of it, it's a pick up and deliver game when you really think about it. But the fact that you have to make your connections and you only have X number of moves. I mean, that was like really the cool limiting factor to it. Like, you have to be very efficient, which I mentioned before. You have to be really efficient to be good at that game, I think. So
I want more Maglev in my life.
Yeah, Maglev's good.
Yeah, definitely. So after that, we played 51st State. We kind of taught it to you guys. Rob, you already know Imperial
I didn't realize
Settlers,
you guys had already gotten 2 matches in ahead of time before that.
Yeah, they were screwing up the rules for 2 whole games before we got there.
Yeah. So it was a little more streamlined by the time we got to you guys as far as teaching it.
For sure. Yeah.
But the thing was, it was my copy. I have all the expansions for it, and I never played it.
Oh, yeah.
Typical Lorenzo,
Yeah, I think we unboxed it,
even though I never played it.
We unboxed it together on camera. It's one of the earlier videos on the channel.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because you got the deluxe version.
It was like the newer version that came out, and then I think it was Cool Stuff had a package deal, so you got the base game and the 2 expansions, and it was like $45, something like that.
Yeah.
So
And here
Yeah,
I
but
thought I was cool. I was going to bring my copy because Miniature Market had a sale for $19, and I
Old
bought
school,
it.
baby.
Well, I didn't realize I bought, I guess, a first version
The
of
cheap
it.
copy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the artwork is not good. The UI on it, the user interface is poor.
Don't have all the little bits.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean it's completely different, Mike. Completely different than what you have.
Huh.
So
I'm curious to see what it actually looks like. I'll have to look it up.
turn around, find some garbage. Right there.
Yeah.
Find a dumpster on fire, and that's
And
what it
there you
looks
go.
like.
Yeah, it's different.
Because I was going to bring my copy. I told Rob the night before, while, just like you had talked about with Dan, you guys were doing the whole back and forth. What am I bringing? Rob and I did it in person on Thursday night after the show.
Yep.
We did it here, and I was like, all right, I'm bringing 51st Day because I know Michael has said he wanted to play it. And then I posted the picture of it, and I think Rob had said, well, he's already got a copy there with him.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, cool,
Right.
because he's got the better copy. So I was glad you did that, and thank you for teaching it, because, man, that was that was fun.
It's a fun game.
Yeah, that was a good game. That's one that's definitely going to, because we didn't even play with any of the expansions.
Right.
So there's, I even have the latest expansion, which adds the Molochs, or I think that's how you pronounce it, but that's like a race or class or whatever that's actually throughout the entire Nirishima, universe.
So the
'cause they're also
expansions add different factions? Is that how that works?
different factions and different mechanics. If it's like kind of like, which I'm getting ready to talk about, is like Tyrants, where I think when you add them in, it just adds like different things that you can either build or take actions on, or
because 51st Date is a tableau building card game.
Yep.
Where you play a faction that has its own asymmetry, not super crazy,
right, it's
different,
not super asymmetric, but
different enough where it drives you in a different direction. You're going to take cards from your hand, and you're going to spend distance markers, right, to be able to interact with these cards by either playing them down as productions, as buildings, or put them down as features,
deals,
right?
Deals with them,
features that give you like one time or multiple time abilities, and then finally at the bottom, I think they call them
they're action cards.
Action cards at the bottom. So you got 3 like rows that you're building. And you got these you can lay them down as action cards. Or, because the cards are multi-use, you can burn them and use them as deals, which help you in production throughout the game. Or you can raise them and effectively burn them down, discard them out of the game, not for use anymore.
Take a one-time benefit.
To just get their one-time benefit, to get their spoils.
Yeah.
So you have so many options with each card. I really like these tableau-style games, Empires of the North.
Yeah.
What is 51st Day? Imperial Settlers. That's the one. And it went well for me. I mean, I got a strong win on it.
All right.
He bragged a little bit. Yeah. Well, let's get to a good game. What's this Tyrants of the Underdark you speak of?
Tyrants of the Underdark, man. Oh, man. All 4 of us, I know we all love that game.
Oh, yeah.
We'd all play that anytime it hit the table.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So we played with the dragons and the
Undead.
That was my first time playing with the Undead.
I never played with the Undead either. Yeah.
My first time playing with both of those.
Oh, really?
I don't think I've ever played with those before. And they added some cool mechanics to it. The dragons, I didn't get very many dragons in my deck, if any, but they seem to be pretty powerful.
Yeah, they're just super powerful.
They're definitely more expensive, but
8 and 9 buy.
They're just killing stuff and eating stuff and buying stuff. Yeah, they're expensive, but once you get them in there, they're pretty powerful.
Yeah, but that's a game that it scales really well. Whether you're playing with 2, 3, or 4 people, because it just shrinks the map down a little bit.
Right.
But, it was a fun game.
Well, those undead are so different. The devour mechanism that it added
sped the game up.
I've never seen a game end on. I didn't even know
going through the deck
was an end game trigger.
First time it's ever happened for me. Yeah,
because the other end game trigger is placement of soldiers.
Whoever puts their last one out.
Right, and that's always been the game for me. To me, it's a deck building game. The deck building lets me do the area control. That's what the game is to me.
For sure.
It's an area control game where deck building lets me do that. This time it was like the management of the cards is what triggered the end of the game. And I think the majority of my points came from the deck itself, if I remember correctly. Most of my points came from like the deck itself.
Yeah, I think so.
I think
you're
majority
right.
of y'all were that way.
Yeah, you bought a lot of there. I got a lot of mine by promoting.
I was going to say, I think Rob got a lot of his points from the area control and the promoting part.
Yeah.
Well, the area control is because y'all just let him go on the west side of the map.
Easy now, easy.
Yeah.
I'm over here fighting Dan.
Everybody had their areas.
It kind of evened out in the end there, though. I mean, I only had a little bit of area down at the bottom, but I had total control over most of my areas, I think, that I had. So
Yeah, I was nowhere on point in this game. My personal best in this game is 85 points. And for this one time that we played Tyrants of the Underdog, my score was 67. So that really felt like I just couldn't get it together.
Who won that game again?
Oh, wow, look at that. We can talk about winners.
Look at that.
It was Michael, 75 points.
Look at that.
I honestly didn't think I had the game. I was surprised I won.
I like that about it because you can't really tell the score.
Right.
You're not 100% sure of who's where.
A lot of it's hidden until the end. Yeah.
Our spread was tight.
Promoting a lot. Yeah.
I think 75 was Mike, and then lowest score was me at 67. So we're not even talking a 10-point spread here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember we said all of us were within, 9 points or something? Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah. That was crazy close.
Good game, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then you taught me a game. You and Dan. Carlos went off and started doing. He started learning a game that we played a little later.
More importantly, I went and got dinner.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, we went and picked up
Giordano's.
Giordano's.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Giordano's. Yeah.
Holy moly, that pizza was amazing.
Your first experience with Chicago deep dish style pizza? Okay.
I've never had pizza like that.
That was your first time ever?
Ever.
Oh, dude.
I've had deep dish, like Little Caesars deep dish and Pizza Hut deep dish.
That's just a bunch of bread,
It's not Chicago style. Yeah, deep dish.
Right.
Yeah.
This literally, I think David Carlton described it to me as it's not pizza, it's a pie. It's a pie made out of pizza ingredients.
It's a brick of cheese.
Yep. Pretty much.
It was thick.
Yeah.
Thick.
It was
thick.
heavy. Y'all brought those two of them in, and those were expensive pizzas. They were about $40 each.
They weighed as much as a Gloomhaven box.
Yes, they did.
With a wooden insert.
Yeah, it was
it was like oatmeal thick. I mean, it was rich. Oh, man. So that was dinner. I had peeled off for that. You guys got into a game of Cascadia.
Cascadia, yeah. So you said that you and Dan had played that a couple times already, again, at the con, and then you guys taught it to me.
Even prior to the con. But
okay. Yeah, that was a fun game. I liked that one. And I'm going to jump right in and just say that, again, a lot of people have made this comparison because they're in the line, but this compared to Calico, which I did not care for at all. Cascadia, I would probably play any time. I mean, this was just a completely different game, and I didn't click with me until I heard one of the reviewers, I think it was somebody on Dice Tower, mentioned that they liked this better than Calico, and because the idea was that in Calico, your options get less and less and less as you play that game, and the placement of the tiles gets more stressful, and you have to be more precise as you go deeper into the game. Cascadia is just the opposite. You're building a landscape, and you're giving yourself, as it gets bigger, you place along the outsides, and you get more and more and more options as you go through the game, and so mistakes feel a lot less penalizing because you can fix those mistakes. You can overcome your mistakes. In Calico, I felt the one mistake I made just ruined my whole game. And so, but yeah, Cascadia was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed playing that one.
Yeah, even though all three of you guys kept stealing all the salmon. By the end of that game, I didn't have a single salmon on my entire board. Which,
but Dan had the wheat salmon, was it? I think
he had the wheat salmon.
Yeah, good old wheat salmon. So somehow the salmon show up in the wheat fields. But
that's our inside joke. So as you're placing the tiles down, they have different mountains and streams and wetlands, and there's one that's prairie. It's it looks like a wheat field,
just open field,
tile. And literally because some of the tiles are half and half, half mountains, half river, whatever. But there's a couple of tiles in there where the entire tile is wheat or a prairie, and it's got a salmon on it.
Yeah, they
it
print on there what little tokens. So you're drafting the tiles, and then you're putting them into your landscape, and then you're also with that tile you're drafting a little token that has an animal
with
on
an
it.
animal.
And so it doesn't count as far as your victory points until you put the animal on, but you can only put certain animals on certain tiles. And so most of them make sense, but again, there's these couple tiles that are just a wheat field, and there's no water on them, but the only thing on there's a salmon. So you have to put a fish in the wheat field. So it just doesn't seem to make sense. So they got their wheat salmon, their salmon wheat. Yeah. So that was kind of a funny thing when those tiles popped up.
Yeah, Mike couldn't get any though.
No.
No, you guys, either the tiles weren't coming out on my turn, or
until the very last turn of the game, you had the chance to block me, and we were like, "Oh, now you can finally get your salmon." You're like, "No, what? Screw that!
It.
I am not doing that. I've gone the whole game without taking a salmon. I'm not doing it." So, and you didn't. You let me have it. So, give me a few extra points there.
How did that decision pan out score wise?
Well, I'll be honest, by that time, I was just like, there's no way I'm going to win this game. Like, there's going to be an entire scoring portion of this game that I'm going to have 0 on, literally 0. I don't remember who won that game, though.
I don't remember either. It wasn't me.
Y'all telling me you didn't put it in the book?
Yeah, I don't.
Well, I can't look at my phone right now. But,
I'll look at it.
Count on Rob.
I've got it here. Yeah, I don't put in the scores, but I put in the order of finish. So let me see.
You didn't put in scores?
I don't ever put in scores. No, I just put in who.
What is wrong with you? What's this data even worth?
I don't care about the scores.
You know what? Just delete the app.
I want to know what I played. That's what it is for me.
He just wants to know who won.
Yeah, who won.
Not how they won.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, jeez.
So this one was. Ooh, where's my note here? Oh, here we are. Pete. Pete played with us. I forgot.
Oh, Pete ended up winning.
Yeah, Pete beat. I was second, Mike, and then Dan. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I was watching you guys over there playing Cascadia, and I was a little jealous because I wanted to get it in, but I figured I saw Pete was hanging around, and it's that part I started with earlier. Like, I feel like we kind of stick to ourselves when we came because we know we're a known quantity. Like we're playing games we know we want to play that we just can't play at home. But then we see all our other friends kind of mingling around looking for a game. And I'm like, I'm going to back out. I'm going to go eat some pizza, hang out with a different group. And that's going to let other folks jump in with you guys. Yeah. Although I wanted to play Cascadia. But I did get to play The King is Dead. So I taught, while you guys were playing that, I taught The King is Dead.
Yeah, I saw you over there playing that.
Yep, to David Carlton and to Brendan. I got to meet one of David's friends named Brendan, who, this was cool. When we played this 3-player game of The King is Dead, Brendan and David were new to it. I taught it. They both tied for the first condition and the second condition.
Wow.
Right. So we had to go to the third condition, which was whoever played their last card first.
Right.
So effectively, whoever was last out of cards first. English is not my first language. David still had cards to play. Brendan did not. So because David had opportunity to play at the end of the game, before David, I'm sorry, since David had got opportunity to play before Brendan, because Brendan was done after Brendan.
Yeah, right.
That meant that Brendan won, so he won on the third tiebreaker of The King is Dead.
Cool.
But they both, I think, really enjoyed it. It reminded me again how nice a tight game of The King is Dead can be.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very like I could not figure out how to win that game.
Oh yeah.
And they both told me it's because they both decided that they were not going to let the Welch win at all. The red cubes were not going to get any traction. And I went red cube deep from like turn 1.
Yeah, you can't. I think that's one of the tricks on that game is you can't declare what you're doing too early. You got to kind of do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and then as you see the game develop in the second half, you got to really pick something and go for it. Yeah, but if people know you're doing something, then they're just going to block you. Yep.
Yes, that's what I played while you guys did Cascadia.
Yeah.
Yep. One game I forgot to mention, the first time I've ever played this game, and every time somebody mentioned it, I'm sure a lot of people think the same way. Quacks at Quedlinburg.
Yeah.
Quedlinburg. Yep.
Anytime anybody mentioned that game, I'm like, all right, this game's got ducks in it, and
Nope. No ducks. It is duck free. I can attest, duck free. Yeah.
But Dave taught that to Dan and I think Lou was in that game, and then one other gentleman that I hadn't met before, in the con. But even though that, I mean, granted, it's not a brain burner, and there's definitely some drug. It's a push your luck type of
Yeah,
game for
yeah.
those that don't know.
It's drawn
You
out
know,
of a
you're pulling
bag.
things out of a bag, and it's a push your luck type of thing. But man, that game was fun. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we just had a good time. Like, we were joking around while we were playing, and it was just, I mean, if I wasn't moving, I would be looking for that game immediately so I could put that in my collection because that was so fun.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one. So anyway, we played that. Now I think I'm getting into what we played
The Crew. We played some of The Crew.
We played The Crew, and then Apocalypse Road. I'm sorry, Apocalypse Road.
Yeah, we finished the night
out with
Apocalypse
that. The fact that you had to drive home that night.
Oh yeah.
And it was 11 o'clock, and you're like, "Let's play Apocalypse Road." You know, I'm learning how to play.
Yeah.
And we're like, "What?"
That's what I said. Maybe we should play Thunder Alley. We know that one. We can just jump right into that one. Carl's like, no, I got this. I got the rule book right here. I'm gonna read it real quick. It's like, okay. Yeah.
I was on my third slice of Giordano's.
Yeah.
You know, popping another Dr. Pepper. Just trying to keep that caffeine going.
I think we had a full. Did we have?
We
a
were
full
one
count
shy. We were at 9. It plays 10.
Oh, okay.
We were at 9.
So it was 8 or 9.
Holy Cucamonga, man!
Yeah, the downtime on it was a bit much.
A little bit much. Plus, it was late at night. We were kind of getting a little, giddy, and we were doing a lot of talking.
There was a lot of side stuff going on.
Their turn.
Yeah.
I mean, there definitely were some. We were making the best of it. I think we had a good time, even though we may not have enjoyed it as much as maybe we initially thought we would.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think it was just Carlos and I kind of like talked very briefly on the side. Like, I was expecting Thunder Alley with Mad Max overtones.
Yeah,
and it just seemed like a freaking free for all, man. It was almost like it was just Crash Up Derby.
It was. Yeah, for sure.
It was too much of that for me.
A little too much chaos.
Yeah, it didn't seem like the drafting. Like, it was almost like a drafting was kind of like, well, we had in Thunder Alley, we'll kind of throw it in as an afterthought on this one, because you could, in Thunder Alley, like, if you're drafting, once you get that draft, you are not breaking from that draft until the end of your move. Where this was like, you can, push somebody up to this point, then you can break off of them and then go around, and it just, I don't know, it just didn't seem like there was very much strategy in the game like there is with Thunder Alley.
Right, it's because there's too many options.
Yeah.
Right, so and apparently this mechanism is from the Grand Prix version of Thunder Alley, the open wheel version.
Mm-hmm.
What they call conditional pushing.
Right.
Conditional linkage is what they call it, but it's effectively conditional pushing. You can push the lane of cars in front of you until you decide not to, and then go around them.
Yeah.
Right.
That whole thing on just about every card really just took away decisions.
Yeah.
Before, you had to work together because you were limited in what you can do. Like, okay, I can bump into them, but that's going to cost me 3 movement points, and movement was always maybe 5, 6, 7 movement. This game we were moving 14.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there was a lot of big moves. And the other thing is, I didn't think about it much during the play, but I mean, if I push you and then on your turn with the weapons involved, with the guns involved, you could shoot me and then pull away anyway. So it's like you could blow me up and then drive off without me. So yeah, there was a lot.
Or try to ram you and then blow your car up, right?
Yeah, like
right,
Carlos did. He rammed me twice and he took more damage than I did.
Both times.
Yeah.
I think both cars died trying to ram you.
So there was a lot of random going on in that game.
Yeah.
So,
But there was a lot of stand-up moments.
Yeah.
There were moments that the entire table was standing up, watching somebody else's turn for the chaos that was ensuing.
Yeah.
And that's what Lou talked about in the Discord.
In the chat, yep.
I had posted my feelings on the game, and he's like, I completely disagree. And he went into like a 4-paragraph conversation on why.
Well, he was pretty
Only
adamant.
4 paragraphs?
Only.
And he was pretty adamant that night when we were making comments. He was like, no, I like this a lot better than I liked. And a couple people chimed in with him and agreed. So, I mean,
this is like a skirmish style war game on a table where you're just mashing each other with cars. And so it's got its
going
place.
Around a quote unquote track.
Yeah. And
I want to save this for like a 4-player game to see.
Try it.
Maybe at 4 players, less downtime, more cars to control. Will it find a place? If not, I don't know if it'll find a place. But that's how we ended our night, and Rob and I made it home safely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob, for driving back.
And I got back around, was probably around 2-ish. Yeah,
I think I got here around 2:30.
Okay, yeah, so I made it back to my place a little before 3. I think I hit bed at 3:20 or something. And
But then you were up Sunday morning.
Yeah, I was planning to get up. I did one of those deals where I was laying in bed, and I was like, if I go to sleep now, I get 4 hours of sleep. And then turn around, look at the clock again. If I go to sleep now, I get 3 hours of sleep. Okay, if I go to sleep now, I get 2.5 hours of sleep. And I finally, I think, nodded off for a couple of hours. And then planned to get up, take a shower. You know, it was just a 2-day con for me. So, and then my dog got loose and was running the neighborhood. So that set me back on the departure by about an hour and a half. So that was no fun.
Yeah.
So I know I had told these guys I'd be back up there and meet them. I think I said 9 o'clock, and I don't think I made it till like 10:30 or something. But I brought my daughter up, my daughter Emmy. She wanted to go. It's her first. She's come with me to cons and just kind of sat in the hotel and stuff, but she's never gone and gamed. And so it gave her first little taste. She's 15 now, so it was her first day that she just got to go and sit and play games. And it wasn't the full day experience because on Sunday they close at 6, which most cons do end early on Sunday. But we got in there. When we arrived, you and Dan were playing Fox and the Forest. That's right, the Fox and the Forest.
Another game that I've had forever and never played it. And it was, a big, for those that don't know, it's a 2-player only trick-taking game. And there's 3 suits. And the odd-numbered cards have special powers on them. So, like, when you're playing, it may... there's also like a very small draw deck off to the side with the card flipped over. And in a typical trick-taking game, you're setting the suit, and, whoever has the highest numbered card in that suit that sets it, they win the trick, and then they start it over. Well, the thing with this game is the card off to the side. I'm trying to remember the suits. It's like keys and, a couple other things. There's only 3, but it's like, let's say I'm just going to give the regular suits. Let's say I played a heart, but the card off to the side was a club. If Dan, he can either play the heart, or if he plays a card that's the club, the card on the side is always the trump card. It's always the trump suit. So you can play off the card off the side, or you can still play, to strategize. You can lose some of them, but again, the odd numbered cards give you special powers. Like if you play the 1 card, I think if you lose with that one, you still set the suit for the next round. You're still going first on the next round. The 11, like if you play, it's 1 through 11. I know the 11 card is, if you played with the 11 card, you force the other player to either play their highest card, or I think it's either the highest card or the lowest card in that suit, or the 1. If you have the 1, you have to play it. I'm trying to remember exactly, but anyway, it's you play multiple rounds. First one to 21 points. That's the other mechanic that I thought was really cool. So you're each dealt only 13 cards. So there's going to be 13 tricks total throughout the entire game, and there's a scoring system depending on how many tricks you won. So if you won 0 to 3 tricks, you're going to get 6 points for that round. If you win 4 tricks, I think it's like 4 to 5, you're going to get 1 point. It like gradually goes up, like once you pass that 3rd trick. So you're either trying to lose a bunch, or you're trying to win just enough, because the 7 to 9 trick winning is what also gives you 6 points. But if you win more than that, you get 0 points.
10 to 13 is 0. Yep. So you don't.
Is 0. Yeah, so it's like this, you're trying to, it's almost like if you're going for the strategy, okay, I'm going to try and lose as many as I possibly can. Well, as soon as you win that 4th trick, then you're like, oh shoot, I'm under the gun now. I got to start winning more so that I can get up to that 7 to 9 mark to get the 6 points, at the end of that particular round. So it was fun. I can see why it was on everybody's hit list when it came out. I think it came out in 2019, 2018. I can't remember, but it was like
2020.
It was pretty popular. I'm sorry?
It was last year, or 2020.
Oh, really? It must have been like the beginning of last year then.
Yeah, it seems like it was older than that. I wonder if maybe that was a... well, you're looking at Duet. Duet was the second one.
That was this.
Yeah, that was the second one. It was one that came out before that was up to 4 players, I think.
Okay. So you played the Fox and the Forest, just the regular one.
Yeah.
You played a 2-player though.
Right.
Yes, you can only play a 2-player.
A duet actually is
No,
the 4-player.
duet is the 4-player.
Yeah, that's where you're playing in two
Yes.
pairs of two. Yeah,
Correct.
that's the duet.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so Fox in the Forest was 2017.
2017. That's
Oh, wow. Okay, so yeah, it was
a
even
few
older
years
than I
ago.
thought.
Yeah, because they had Fox the Forest was out when we worked Dragon Con a couple years ago.
A few years
cool
ago.
stuff. That was-
Time's flying.
Yeah, a couple years back. So, but yeah, that's when
Yeah, so I think my son got it for me for my birthday that year.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
When it came out, because he said, "Man, this is a hard game to find." He's like, and I was looking for a cheap game for you, and the guy said, "This is the game that you want to get him because everybody's trying to get it." And
Yeah.
got a copy.
Before the crew
And
came
I've
out,
had it all this time, and I've never played it.
before the crew came out, this was the trick taking game everybody been talking about for a couple of years.
Yes.
So yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, so we were playing that. You showed up, and then immediately we went to lunch.
I was gonna say, yeah. So we talked y'all into going over to Chewy's. About yours and
Heck
Dan's
yeah.
first ever experience with Chewy's. I was kind of blown away that neither one of y'all had ever eaten Chewy's. You were like, "What's Chewy's?" And
I'd never even heard of that place.
Y'all don't know Chewy's, so
It was so good, though.
yeah,
It
we
was
went over,
really
got
good.
some burritos.
And that's where, when I was in San Antonio, because
Yeah.
I had a work-at-home team at the time. Most of them worked in San Antonio. I took them out to lunch to Chewy's in San Antonio, Texas, and
that's good stuff.
oh man, that was
Your
good
face
stuff.
burrito.
Yeah, make a your face burrito with a little bang bang sauce on it, and oh yeah, that's good stuff.
Yep.
And they got their creamy jalapeno ranch for the chips, and whew,
Yeah, that was good stuff. Man.
I can do Chewy's on a regular basis. But after we did an hour for lunch and we came back and we were all filled up on Chewy's, we got to sit down and you were just kind of pulling games out of your bag. And I was like, first when they hit the table, I was like, let's just play it. Let's just do it. And we jumped back into Asonia. So
yeah, man,
that was a good one.
So I love that game, man. It was funny because before the con, it had been a while since I played it.
Yeah.
And as soon as I broke it out and started teaching it at the con, I was like, oh man, I really do like this game. It's
game
a
number
game.
3 at the con of Asonia.
Well, actually, I think I played. Actually, I don't think I even marked this down, or maybe I forgot to mark it down. I taught Asonia to Pete and his daughter, and with Dan. Like, we happened to run into them as soon as we walked in on a Wednesday, and we're like, "Oh, you want to get a game in?" And we're like, "Yeah." It's like, "All right, well, how do you feel about the Asonia? I'll teach it to you guys." And we're just like, "Okay," and we kind of sat down. So that was probably like the 4th game of Asonia that I played.
Was probably the longest one.
then.
Probably the longest one you had played.
Probably.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Dan was it was dragging for him a little bit as we got into it. He was like, "Come on, this is not TI4. This is Asonia." So yeah, that game kind of drug. We had 4 players and played my daughter and me, and then Mike and Dan. And Mike and Dan had the cards that I forget what the
corruption.
Corruption.
We kept, corrupting you and your daughter.
Yeah, we had all the points, the cards that got us points, and they had all the cards that took away points, and so they just kept going and hitting us to knock us down, and then we'd get our points back. I had absolutely no corruption cards in my hand, so I couldn't stop anybody. All I'm doing is generating points, making points, and then Dan and Mike both knocking me and Emmy back down. So it went on forever. The Pete came over about halfway through, and he's like, "Y'all about done?" We're like, "Well, yeah, I think so." And we played for another half hour after that. So that game was, I think, over an hour. I think it was a long game of Asonia, but yeah, good game. If you like deck builders, it's got a few mechanics in it that you have to learn, but once you learn the mechanics, it's pretty straightforward little deck builder. And it's fun. And nice artwork. I really like the time period artwork that's looking
just keep reading the rules. Go to Mike's channel, One Mike One Game, and you can watch the how to play there.
Yeah,
I think he's gotten props from the designer. On that video you did. So it's a strong video on how to play.
Very cool.
Yeah,
he's practiced at teaching it.
Yeah, the cool thing with that game though is like your favor cards, which are like your action cards. Every single one is unique. There's not a duplicate in the entire deck. So.
Yeah,
that's another thing that kind of makes it cool. Yeah. So anyway, we played that, and then we finished out the entire con.
Yeah, we closed down the con
with Res Arcana.
Another great game.
That's my favorite game of 2019.
Have you played that yet, Carlos?
I have not.
Carlos has not played Res Arcana. I've played it 3 times now, or no, 2 or 3 times.
Are you sure you haven't played? I thought I taught you when we were at Dice Tower 2019.
No, I don't think you played.
Must have been a different Carlos.
Well, I know it was Rob, Nick, myself.
Yeah, I think Carlos went and did something else when we were playing.
Oh, maybe it was Dan that played with us then.
It was. I remember playing with Dan. Yeah.
Okay, all right, maybe that's what it was. But
Yep.
yeah, so we finished.
I don't
out
even
the
know
night with
what
that.
it is. Like I don't think I've ever watched a video, read a review.
Resource
right,
management.
so I'll
I have
give you
no
the-
clue what it is.
I'll give you the quick rundown. It's a Tableau, somewhat of an engine builder game. So it's very asymmetrical because you have each person is dealt 2 mages that each have their own special powers. You pick one, and then that's the one that stays out in front of you the entire game. Everybody is dealt only 8 cards. Those are all the cards that you're going to get for the entire game.
Yeah.
Kind of like a King is Dead 8 cards, like use them once and done.
And I know when you
Well,
told
they're not.
Pete that,
they're
he was
all
like, this is
unique,
not a
though.
deck builder with only 8 cards. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's they're all unique. So you kind of, once you deal out the 8 cards, you're allowed to look at all your cards, and then you can kind of like pick the mage that will benefit you the best, that works with your cards.
The cards that you happen to get, yeah.
Right. And so you create your draw pile, you deal yourself 3 cards, and that's your starting hand. And that's how the game starts. And it's first 1 to 10 points when you check for victory per round is the winner. Or if you have 10 points, there's a number of actions you can take, but you can also pass. And the rest of the people at the table can keep playing until they want to pass. But it's one of those games where once you get a few cards out in front of you, it's kind of like, okay, well, I can do this, which is going to give me these resources, which they call essence.
Essence, yeah.
There's 5 different essence, including gold. And you can okay, well, I'm going to get this, which is going to let me do this with this card. And then I exhaust this card, and it's going to allow me to do this. And by the end of the game, you're trying to make your move, because 10 points really isn't a lot when you think about it in this game, because you can build up those points pretty quick toward the end. So it's this balancing act of there's a couple of cards in there where you can force a check for victory right then if you want to, or also when you pass, if you're the first person to pass, you get the first player marker, which is also worth a victory point.
Ooh.
So it's this balancing act of do I want to pass now to guarantee that I'm going to get that extra point? But
in case we check for victory.
Well, you don't check for victory until everybody passes, unless you have a card that allows you to do it right then. But you're do I pass now?
Yeah,
because I only have 11 points.
Yeah, say if you're right on
everybody
10 or
else
11,
at the table, will they
turns.
possibly get more points than I by the end of the game?
Yeah.
And that's actually how it ended up ending, because the final round, I was looking at everybody at the table and thinking, okay, well, and I had one card where if I spent 3 gold when we checked for victory, it would give me 3 extra victory points. So I was counting it up, and I think, what did I have, Rob? I think I had 11 or 12.
It was 12, I think. I ended up, 13. Yeah.
You're right. You ended up winning with 13, but you were when I passed and kept the first player marker, and I had 12. I think you had.
I was only at 8 or 9, I think. Yeah.
Right.
I wasn't even going to make it to 10, and then I started playing some cards, and then I had a card that allowed me to pull a dragon out of somebody's discard pile and put it out right away, which I stole your dragon and used it against you and put it out in mine, and then I noticed there was a card up in the an artifact or something. I was like, oh, hold on, if I go get that allows me to do another thing and get a couple more points, and then it makes this other card worth 2 points.
I love games like that.
Yeah, it was that last turn, that last round. I was like, oh, I can do that. I get another point. I go over there, I get another point. And if I can do that, if I just enough essence to go over there and do that and get another point. And I ended up sliding past you. I thought I was only going to be at 9, maybe 10 if I got lucky. If I was thinking I needed to pass first to get that marker, to get the first player marker, which had that bonus point on it. But then when you passed, I was like, oh, okay, well then let's blow it out. I got to use everything because I know you're on 10, and or 10 plus at that point before I started counting. And most of it is out in the open. Most of it you can see
pretty much
what everybody's going to have. So once you passed, I could kind of count. And you had a card that was down, and I kept saying I was just waiting for you at the end to flip it and show me that there was another point there or something. Yeah, the gotcha moment, because I know you knew the game a lot better than I did. But then when we started counting it down, it was like, I got you by 1. So that was a good game. Yeah. That's a really fun game. And
that's another one I'll play anytime.
And you've got the expansion, and I guess they're coming out with another. They announced it some time ago. I haven't heard anything about it recently. A second expansion, but
no, a third one.
A third expansion.
Or is it a third one, or is it?
Maybe there was 2 already.
Oh no, you're right. It's the second one.
The second expansion, yeah. So that'll be interesting to see what they add in that. But.
Yeah, I'm very excited to get that to get new content for it and get it back out to the table again. But
yeah, we pretty much closed it down. I think we finished that around 5:30 or 6 o'clock.
5:30, 6 o'clock.
Yeah. If you talking about this Res Arcana, I just got to play Furnace with William.
What did you think of that game?
I think what you described was Res Arcana. So each of the cards.
There's no. Aren't you like betting?
You're bidding.
Furnace?
There's a bidding mechanism, but that's how you get your cards. You don't start with cards, you're bidding for them. But each card, when you get it, will provide for you a production, like it'll give you something, right? The meeples or the wooden bits that you get, coal, steel, or coal, iron, barrels of oil, or cogs. And then each card itself, like at the bottom of the Res Arcana, has powers that it triggers at the end of your turn. So you have to, on the end of your turn, figure out what order you're going to trigger all these cards so that I can get this resource from this card, but then use this next card to turn that resource into a cog. And then this next card allows me to turn that cog into multiple victory points. So you really have to figure out how to play your cards in what order to efficiently get your points.
So you're really changing blue cubes into yellow cubes into green cubes, but they got little cute little cogs and stuff on it. Makes you feel better about it yourself?
Yes.
Okay. All
but it kind of gives me the feels of what you described with Res Arcana. It may be a different way of getting your cards, but that feeling, that fun combo feeling, like with my last turn of Furnace with William, I kind of blew him away with my points because I'm like, oh, look, I'm getting my coal. I'm turning my coal to steel, and I'm taking that steel and making some barrels. I'm going to grab some barrels, some steel, and some coal, turn them in for bonus points, combo, and then I super took the lead.
Yeah.
So check out Furnace. Yeah. If you really like Res Arcana, I want to try it.
I've had my eye on Furnace for a while. I've been trying to figure out when I can make time to watch an actual playthrough of it. I think it's something I would really enjoy.
I think you will.
I just need to confirm.
And the fact that there's only 4 turns, and because the bidding, you only get 4 bidding coins to bid with, valued 1 through 4, you're only guaranteed to get 1 card a turn. So on average, you're pulling maybe 2 or 3 cards at max on your turn when you bid. So you're slowly building that hand of cards. So by the 4th turn, you now have somewhere between 8 and 10 cards in front of you. Not even 6 to 8 cards in front of you that you then have to figure out on your last turn. How do I turn this into points?
Yeah,
triggering them in different order. Kind of reminded me felt like what you described with Res Arcana.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So it's like a brass flavored Res Arcana. Can I say that?
Yeah.
How many licks does it take to get to the center of the brass flavored Res Arcana?
I don't think I want to find out.
1. Well, as usual, us Tampa guys shutting down the place, like Rob and I in St. Louis, they're kicking us out effectively, right? Yeah. And then you guys at Escape WinterCon shutting it down.
Yeah, right up to the end.
That's beans and dice for you.
Pretty much. Yep.
Yeah.
So it was a good 5 days. Like I don't think I've been to a con where I was actually there all 5 days before. So
yeah,
it was a good time.
It's a good feeling. Yeah. Do the whole thing. Do it right.
It's refreshing. Yep. It energized me to get back, continue doing what we're doing here with the channel, the shows, the podcast.
Yeah.
It was refreshing to get out with other people who like doing what we do and being in those communities.
Yep. Just seeing people, meeting people, watching people mingle. Yeah.
And it's going to be stinky knowing that this very well may be the last show for you in Tampa. Mike?
Yeah, on the way out.
Could be.
Right, because we're doing this every other week. We're kind of getting to that time frame.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
The podcast portion of it, at least, yeah.
But the good news is, with the power of the internet, I think we can still reach you in Seattle.
There's some remote, yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
They have
for those
there?
that don't know, I'm in the process of selling the house. Still waiting for the not the inspection, but the appraisal to come back. Once that comes back in the next day or so, I'll know 100% whether or not it's a done deal. But I'm pretty sure it is. In October, my wife and I will be moving out to Seattle. the good news is it'll be a lot earlier there when you guys do the show.
Oh yeah, it'll be easier for you. Yeah. Stay up late.
Yeah, so I can stay up a little bit later, and
We're gonna have to hear stories about how you get integrated into the gaming community in Seattle.
For sure, yeah.
What your game group's gonna look like, and how you're doing your gaming up there.
You have to invite us out to a Seattle con so we can get up there.
Oh, definitely. The first one I'm hoping to make it to is, I mean, it's not really in Seattle, but I'll be a lot closer, is PAX Unplugged.
Oh yeah.
Or Dice Tower West, one or the other.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'd like to hit up. But you guys are always welcome out there. Come out and visit. If you've never been, it's freaking awesome out there.
Been through there a couple times. Yeah, driven through. Never stayed there, but yep. And the Dice Tower
lots
West.
Of cool places.
I want to go to Vegas, so Dice Tower West is one we need to definitely hit. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to NACA this year. So this is not game related at all, but the National Association for Catastrophe Adjusters. Yeah, which is in January. So that's out in Vegas next year. So I'll be there then as well.
Cool.
So.
Well, wish you the best.
Yeah.
Godspeed on the sale of the home and the transition. We look forward to
Thank you.
To keeping you on the show and having a friend out on the West Coast that we can call on for a different view.
We go crash on his floor and hang out in Seattle. Yeah. Yeah.
So that wraps us up.
Well, I mean, we'll get together before I head out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we got our second Saturday, the 9th of October.
9th, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I close on the 12th, so I don't know if that
cutting it close.
I'm not sure if that's going to happen.
You got to pop in. We're next door. You got to pop in.
I'll peek my head in. Yeah,
peek your head in. Say hi and.
Yeah, and talk me into playing a game or something.
Now we can shake a hand and get a hug before you head out.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Thanks again for being on the show. Rob, thank you for sticking it, staying late with me.
Yeah.
It's been a crazy 2 weeks, man. Between
it's been busy.
St. Louis and...
So I told my wife, I was like, hopefully we're going to get to some normalcy now. It's been a busy 2 weeks. Yeah.
And we had a great show tonight on the call-in show. I think we had like 50 views in
during the show. Yeah.
That's more than we had last week with Jamie Stegmaier on the show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a good week. Yeah.
It was a good week today.
Good bounce back. Yeah.
So hopefully, folks, check us out on our weekly stream Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. Every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Check out Mike on the One Mike One game, his tutorial of Asonia. It's right there for you.
The only game that's on there.
Yep.
Yeah,
one game.
One game. He's not lying.
It's one game.
It's one mic and one game. You got to start deleting the one game and then replacing it. It's always one game.
Well, I told you I'm going to launch another channel. It'll be called One Mic 2 Games, and then I'll only put 2 games on there.
There you go. That's the way to do it. Yeah, keep it going.
All right, y'all. Have a good night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening for y'all folks on the podcast. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Happy gaming.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.